Okay, welcome everyone to our May working session. So, first on the agenda, we have our annual meeting with Planning Commission Chair, Colin Lampard. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you, guys. Stand up, take your seat.
Hey, it's good.
Sorry about that. No. So not a whoopee cushion here. You give me a bad chair.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
All good chairs. Okay, so welcome. Let us know what's going on. How's it going?
Well, it's going pretty well. Based on years past, my tenure on the planning commission, it has definitely been slower the last couple of years than it has been, say, in 2016 or 2017, when I first got involved. You guys have a copy of our annual report in front of you, I believe, or not. I will go over some of the highlights, but there was 4 conditional use applications we reviewed last year. It's for a pavilion at the YMCA, and then some other residential stuff. There was 2 land development applications filed. Cardinal Ridge, the townhomes off of Nicholson Road, and then again, Barrel Family YMCA, and 1 simple subdivision. So it was pretty quiet year. A couple times where we didn't meet. We had a couple close calls, but no problems really reaching a quorum. Major problems anyways. So that Uday is pretty plugged into what's going on. I think he was the only commission member with perfect attendance.
But it did come to stuff.
Yeah, you missed one. Yeah. So I'm going. This is my first year sitting in the president's chair. Took over for Stephen Winnicott, and then before him it was Blaine. And before him it was Rob Shapansky. So hope to continue on the strong streak. Stephen did a really good job. I learned a lot from him and Blaine before him. And kind of the theme the last couple of years has been give someone a chance and sit in the chair seat and then rotate and kind of get everyone some experience, and that's been going really well. Would also add that we get we're lucky, we get great support from Tim Phillips, and then also our legal counsel and engineer. So the job's pretty easy, makes our lives easy. My standpoint, I think everything is going pretty well. Be happy to answer any questions or any concerns.
is there anything council can do to help, or is everything, you got what you need?
I guess, since I've been involved in the planning commission, which is, I think, maybe about 8 years now, maybe 9. The directive has always been get the plans to council clean, no conditions, no exceptions, no, so that's pretty much been our directive. We beat them in a submission, so by the time it gets to you guys, it should be a pretty easy decision. I won't say it's not, some of them aren't contentious, but we try to get it to that point for you. I'm happy to communicate, so some of them are more sensitive than others. So if there's I guess I'll just extend, if there's anything that's not violating any kind of law, Max. But if anything,
No applications are pending.
yeah. So if anything, warrants any discussion beforehand or special discussion, we'd be happy to meet with any of you or, collectively. If there's any support, we can lend coming to the meetings, or I can lend coming to meetings or workshops, happy to do that as well. But hopefully, knock on wood, they're all easy this year. So
Is there anything in the borough's
ordinances and requirements that make it difficult to do some of the reviews, or you might want to suggest could be improved? I'm not looking for amendments to any of our requirements, but is there something that you guys trip over all the time and say, boy, if they would just consider a tweak? I don't, there may not be. I'm not looking for more to do, but
not particularly. I think, Nate, can you think of anything that's like kind of clunky or awkward?
No, I mean, I would definitely say, like, for my time on the planning commission, from what I've observed, I mean, I can definitely attest to what Colin said, while we keep in the submission, we've had one applicant come back 4 times or 5 times.
Yeah.
Just clearing up ambiguity. I think more of it is just, I don't know, from a perspective, but I mean, from what I've seen, it is an advisory commission, right? So there's always things that could be updated or improved or modernized, you know,
Sure.
as the marketplace has changed. But overall, the recurring theme that I see is, you know, I do hear this meets your ordinance, like that term or that phrase, right? So, I think, and that's usually towards the end. There's a lot of explaining that happens, or due diligence that happens over the months, so.
Yeah.
And I can think of like a few of the plans that were submitted that went through that.
Yeah, I'll just, is a civil engineer myself, I'm vaguely familiar with, you know, some of the things we look at here. I mean, our stormwater ordinance was updated within the last, Sean, whatever that countywide update went on in 2020. And we just finished our comprehensive plan review, you know, with Ohio Township. And that was a big emphasis of Tim's to kind of, you know, try to have some cohesiveness in zoning requirements and, you know, a lot of the planning component of the ordinances. So I think we look at them pretty regularly and update them as needed. Oil and gas, that was one that's been updated within the last, got a little contentious.
I was about it. I'm involved in that. 5 years ago, it was a while. Yeah, it was a while.
Yeah, that was, those were some long, planning commission nights, but, yeah, I from where I sit, I think that we're pretty conscientious and proactive in the pretty job.
I think council appreciates what the planning commission does, but if there's an opportunity to give you, improve the tools you have to do what you have to do, we're certainly, to the extent possible, we like to hear back from them. The zoning hearing board, you know, you guys are looking and working with those regulations all the time. We don't get a lot of feedback unless something significant comes up like the oil gas.
There's been a couple, I don't recall off the top of my head, you know, people looking to put solar panels and stuff on roofs. You know, I think is pretty noble endeavor, you know, and that might be something to consider at some point to make that process easier. Trying to think of stuff that you know, a lot of the other stuff is just sheds. I want to build a big pool house. I think that was one, you know, I don't think we necessarily need a plan, but like looking forward, solar panels might be one.
Guidance, it could be just like a 1-pager, give people some guidance, because even like solar panel, that's actually a good example, because we did have the applicants, actually a few that didn't show, so by default that be denied, but you know, I get a lot of questions about solar panels from my neighbors, just random people in the community, and when you not Google, but search our Borough site, it doesn't sort by date or they're not modified documents. So, you know, things like just general guidance on some of these topics, that might be as people come in, you know.
Yeah, sheds, accessory structures, solar panels, those are probably the most common ones we see from our residents, our constituents.
We have committees on the council that look into things like that. Who is involved with the tax committee, the we have a land use committee, so we have various committees that can take on, to see how the other surrounding municipalities are addressing those kind of things.
The EAC actually would like to do something with solar in the near future. To try to promote it a little bit, so we'll be reaching out.
Yeah, if you could streamline the process and make it easier administratively somehow.
Yeah, or prevent, an applicant from coming in who's clearly not prepared.
Right.
That's happened like 1 or 2 times.
Yep, definitely.
I know we've had at least 2 applicants that didn't like our ordinance on the garage door, including one that's now we think are Ridge. What do you think about that? I mean, some of the newer designs, I don't know if you've seen them in the town, it's probably 8%, but it looks all right.
Yeah.
Looks like it probably wouldn't be.
I mean, I hate to see, I don't know, I'm not an architect or, and I don't know what our guidance is based on, but I mean, I would hate to see us be too draconian when it comes to something like, I mean, to me, if it looks nice and an architect is saying it's okay and it's not gonna disturb, it's not, but we have what's in front of us. I don't take any personally umbrage with however my neighbor wants to have their garage door, how wide, so. But
I think we have that on our agenda to discuss this.
Yeah, that's a. Same with, those. Things they don't want for what's action for. And that really.
yeah, I mean, if you're like, hey, I want to build 200 foot townhouse, yeah, that's a problem for your neighbors. If you want to have a dormer on your roof or a wide garage door, who am I to? But the rules are the rules, so.
And that's part of like seeing like what should be updated with the marketplace, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly, yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not qualified to tell you, yeah, I install garage doors every day. This is how wide they ought to be now, but I'm sure we could find that guidance somewhere.
I think the issue with that is not, I mean, it'd be a 16-foot door, but the problem is we have a requirement they can only take up 50% of the width of the building.
Sure.
So if the building was it'd have to be 32 foot wide to legally be 16-foot door in Franklin Park, where a lot of ordinances, a lot of ones allow it to be 65 or 70%, and then the entrance door, so.
Yep.
I mean, we have that, and I'm not sure what the rationale for that, I wasn't involved in.
I think it's our whole.
Zoning provisions on multifamily and design. I think we did it before or around the same time as the 2 comp plans ago. Had sort of like a package. I think Pashik was involved. So if you look at our zoning code, we have a lot of design and a lot of pictures. That was sort of the new wave in 2009 or 2010 when we were doing those. So we have, the idea of a multifamily structure looking like a couple of townhomes or single family residence with all sorts of design features and offsets, so you didn't have just flat front walls. So it is a zoning requirement. Height would be a zoning requirement as well. So if the council land use committee wanted to review those, and as part of the zoning process, it does go to the planning commission for review and comment, as well as the county and public hearings. They would be involved in looking at what is put together, or you can task the planning commission with reviewing certain sections or chapters of other zoning ourselves, and they can devote some time if they don't have applications and
Yeah,
make the sausage.
be something, we would be happy to take a look at. I can relay that to the planning commission.
Sounds like we're talking about percentages and dimensions, right? It doesn't, it's a lot to do.
I understand they want 2-car garage, I want 2.
Yeah, so it's percentages and dimensions. Really, it's not.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's for.
Yeah.
Maybe you look around and see.
I'm actually not sure that what they go again, the Wexford Run is really higher. The reason I say.
Yeah, I'm not
that
sure that it
It
is
is,
there. I
you
don't,
get to the top floor and then you have the attic peak. And now all they've done is they put a dormer sticking out of that, so I'm not sure physically if it's higher, it might be, it's not a whole floor higher, but 2 or 3 feet higher.
I don't know.
They don't count as they don't count as a floor.
Yeah, I don't think it's a genuine.
No, it doesn't count as a floor. I think they said that it looks like a loft or
Yeah.
something there, but.
Yeah, somebody,
No roof deck.
Yeah.
Jumping around with roof deck, jumping off. of the roof.
party decks, those allowed.
Call anything else? Or-
No, that's
Any
it. I
questions?
already overtime.
You're good. All right, well, thanks for coming, and I might see you later this month.
Yeah, maybe.
If we get an application tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll see you guys. Yeah, next
Thank
week,
you.
see you guys.
Thank you.
This meeting, and yeah, we'll be in touch. All right, Alicia.
Yeah, take care. Yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good one.
Which ones? All right, okay, so on to the home rule charter update.
Yes, as I wrote, it was quiet for the month, but obviously it was election season. The solicitors are very busy at that time. I reached out today to both Lisa Michelle and Alan Sitnick and wished them a happy post primary day and asked to put this back on their radar. Al did respond, said yes, it's been crazy. He's going away next week, but we are scheduling a call or meeting the week of May 13th or so. So he gave me a couple of dates that we can circle, and I just had sent him those questions we talked about before in terms of I gave him a draft of the ordinance, a question or two on language, how many signatures are required. Is there a non-legal interpretive statement needed, or do we do that, or does he? It's the general process. So we're still on track. The idea was to introduce in the June regular meeting with a vote at July, and then it's transmitted within 5 days to the county elections division. Start getting the ballot ready for the November election with the question and the 7 spots for Overall Charter Commission members. Okay.
And for June, do the members have to be identified or
No.
just introduced?
Just introduced, not like,
Okay.
yeah, well, I mean, we had that issue with the Municipal Authorities Act. For incorporating an authority, you need to identify the people in the ordinance who don't.
You can specify so.
Hey,
All right, yeah. And, okay. Back to anything else in that?
No.
Okay. That's good, cool, we are caught up. All right, review the May 15, 2024 regular meeting agenda, let's see. Good one.
so far, so, yeah, we will have a couple, addendums. I think Orchard Hill came in. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I did put that on there.
Yep.
Waiting for, what final close out numbers for Oak Road.
Yep.
And the
YMCA came in.
yes, the YMCA will probably, yeah.
And YMCA says they're done, so we're checking. There won't be any maintenance agreement with that one. And the Oak Grove took some chasing, but we did finally get confirmation that the final maintenance was done. We are holding some of their cash bond to pay the invoices, and we have to push to release that. On your agenda too, Bliss is coming along. Well, I mean, not in terms of the ease of getting, a second addendum and the numbers agreed to, it was quicker this time than before, so. It's fun.
What's the hold up story? Did we get it done last year?
He said, I'm trying to remember what his letter said, because you're scheduling,
I don't,
there were some delays,
This week
so
is
they
on.
weren't gonna get it done.
One question on motion 5, I mean, I thought we always made that as for one lump sum payment. It looks like we're gonna make that the 1/3 payment. How does that with that?
Yeah, so this is along the lines of the conversation. So at the end of April, they were supposed to come up with a number of how much is the idle time. I believe it's how much is the idle time of the, what is the time, the cost of the person not going out and doing service calls? So we discussed splitting our payments to the individuals, we're not getting it all at once. One, to hopefully pressure the other municipalities to like actually buy into this and to make sure that, I mean, there was no benefit of paying everything up all at once. Doesn't mean we're not gonna pay, it's just,
They don't need money all at once.
Yeah.
You know, what they've said all along is this year is not a difficult financial year. They're looking into the future. So they won't be, if we just give them a third, it's not gonna.
All right, I don't think we've done, I think it's been a one single payment.
Yeah, that was our discussion at the last meeting.
yeah, and hopefully in the next couple of months, they have a financial update for us. Especially with regards to the other four municipal, the other three municipalities.
Along with the interest party, the McCandless talked about getting together with us. I was kind of waiting for them to run with it because it seems like every time we try to start something, it doesn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
But nothing's happened, so I'm going to reach out to McCandless. So I've heard nothing from them since we talked to them.
All right, I can reach out to you.
And the interest party did get, sorry.
Sounds good.
Let's get.
On the scholarships, the plan, with the plan to, usually what we've done in the past, Julia, has read the name, I go down and I present the award, and congratulations, same format we want to follow.
Yeah, is that what's happened in the past, or?
Like what we've done in the past.
Yeah,
It's usually like a one-page statement that you read about the history of the
Oh, okay.
scholarships. I'll get it to you. And you can change it
Yeah,
if you
sure.
want.
Okay.
And then, like the mayor said, then you go to junior council person, reads the names, and the mayor says.
Okay.
And then we have a photo op.
They've all agreed to be here.
They have not.
It's not. Oh, haven't.
They have until, I think,
Sample letters.
I think Donna said they have until next Wednesday to apply. She's heard from some of them, all the ones she's heard from are coming, but she has not heard from everybody yet.
We generally take a group picture.
Yeah. So, it's 13. Is that? Okay, so that happens right for roll call. That'll be the first thing. Okay. Okay. Okay, anything else for this or? Okay. Any other questions on the agenda? We're good. All right, cool. All right, so reports from staff, engineer, solicitor. First.
Well, I just mentioned in addition to submitting my report for the council meeting, I just like to mention that Deanna and I are, progressing pretty well, still learning, still trying to figure out that we're making sure we get everything and putting things in the right places and on time. But we're still in that learning phase. So I do my best to answer any questions with regards to the report I submitted. Other than that, I didn't really have. Seems like everything's going on. Yeah, I think we're rounding a corner, someone. It doesn't help that you're both new at the same time. Yeah, I sometimes forget that she's relatively as new as I am.
You have my report. Obviously, April didn't start out so great with recreation and sports. It's greatly improved in the last couple of weeks with the weather. We'll see how this weekend goes now with it moving back in. But
All in all, from our associations, it's been pretty quiet and no news is good news as far as that goes. So,
Baseball fields are pretty good.
yeah, we're pretty happy where everything's at. And,
I know, Wall did not have a good weekend.
really,
Yeah, which, I don't know. All the money that they
like I said, with that being brand new, it shouldn't,
I didn't think to play at all, I guess.
because it's not graded or
Just didn't, that's. I felt that.
so that's where we're at as far as recreation right now, because it's really, this is a season where we're underway sports wise and starting to ramp into summer camp as school winds down here in May. So that registration is great. We're going to probably have record numbers camp wise. We're running 10 weeks of camp, and 12 total weeks. 1 week we have 3 different camps. So it is going to be a very busy summer. But that's all right, because we're getting more of the community involved. So that's what we want, to give them outlets this summer instead of being at home on the gaming systems.
Hopefully girls can't registration.
It's gained a few, but it definitely needs a little more push. I know Dave Gray is jumping on with it as well to help push. Obviously, Ultimate Sports, we do have female participation, but it's not obviously as large as the male participation. But yes, it is starting to gain a little bit better traction. We're still getting new camps or new trips that are coming up that are changing schedules. So that's unfortunately something we deal with. We do open very early for our camps, and then family trips have to go somewhere because they're doing things. So I'm hoping that we have a little bit of a delay because they're finalizing summer schedules, and we'll start seeing the push from that. So, but we still have them up here in school, so we're going to try to push it through the schools as much as possible, the newsletters and things, and get them involved. Any help is appreciated, for sure.
Jack, one thing I noticed in the report, you're saying the year-to-date revenue is $311,000. Does that mean we've actually collected that amount already?
Correct.
Is that like deposits for fields or?
That is fields, rentals, and camp payments.
That's a lot.
It is about 100,000 more than this point last year.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised that I mean, it's only what, the end of the 1st of May, I guess, today. So in 4 months, we've collected a lot of money.
I mean, it's very front loaded because of camp, and like I said, because we have the extra weeks of camp this year. We're doing 5 weeks of sports camp, and sports camp alone is like 250 kids. So you're talking $50,000 camp revenue lines. So yes,
I just wanted to be sure it wasn't a typo. I'm thinking that's a lot of money.
it's been a very good start to the year.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I don't want to ask about the festival.
Mhm.
Is there any update?
In reference to,
Just how it's coming along. I didn't know if this is done asked or not.
we're good. Vendors are all booked. We're going to get one more stage act, but we have already confirmed the date. It was just a matter of confirming which act we were going with. But all the major stuff is already booked and signed for. The only other major project is we were going to run like we did last year, we're going to run buses out of Franklin Elementary. So we can have some kind of transportation instead of everybody in the park again.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. We're working pretty well.
It worked, last year it worked really well. Obviously, we don't expect to see the numbers that we did last year, but even the previous year, so that would have been 21, we were over capacity car-wise within the park itself. So if we can push some of that traffic and get them on buses, It's gonna be well worth it. We had a bathroom issue last year, so we will be bringing in, portable toilets this year to fight some of that battle, that we had last year, some of the issue of backups of bathrooms. So that's the only major adjustment will be the, adding bathroom areas.
So basically, what be the kind of same as last year?
It'll be a regular stage. It won't be because we don't have a 40-piece band this year. So that kind of stuff is cut down, but as far as rides and activities, yes, we're bringing back things that we added last year, like the face painting and the airbrush tattoos and the more rides, we kept that stuff in with this year. I don't expect the fall off. I don't see a big fall off coming unless it's bad weather. I do see the crowds being large from here on out.
I noticed on their, not to interrupt you, that they're excavating and expanding the driveway going down there. I took the ride down the other day. I guess I might make it easier for some of the food vendors that have to set up. Obviously, that was probably your intent the intent of doing that.
Well, for the last, I was gonna say for the last how many years we are trying to find parking within the park itself. And that's what that will be added parking spaces for the pavilion, for the football stadium when that's going in the fall.
There's a football game, it's
So, yeah, we're trying to create parking without creating new spaces if at all possible. That was just trash essentially, overgrowth, things like that. So that is completed really. I saw the whole base was in.
Yeah, they have the drainage in, we put some basins in, because there was drainage that comes from other parts of the lot. We'll have it filled in here probably next couple of weeks, talking with Gary and Tom, with all the millings and other fill we had. We'll probably let it sit, they won't pave it into a parking lot this season. But it'll be packed, you can park on it, you can, once they're done, let it settle until maybe fall next spring, then pave it as a parking lot and put the lines and everything in, but that'll be additional parking. And, I had the guy start in the spring, we were just cleaning out the bend just to make for visibility and for safety coming around the bend, and I was talking with Gary and looking at it. It was a good spot to kind of fill in. He needed a place to put some used concrete and everything else we had laying around, so it's good fill. So between that and the millings, it's a win-win.
You haven't gone down here. It's when you're on the last thing going down on the right-hand side. Where the food vendors are going at, they made it much deeper, probably 20, 30 more feet.
Oh yeah, there should be plenty enough parking for parking on both. It's wide enough for parking. So I think a tremendous amount of more lot spaces in there once it's complete.
Make it much wider. That's good. That was a good idea. I don't remember us talking about that, but I saw that when I was taking a ride on Saturday or something. I said, "What?"
Yeah,
That was a good.
Yeah,
those things that popped up and it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah.
Gary had talked with the guys and we had,
Nuts and just-
obviously our milling pile was big enough and we had plenty of fill to put in there, and so something that kind of worked out for everybody, right time, right year, and great idea.
Great idea. Thank you.
Are we doing the restriction on political activity and stuff like we've done in the past? Or I think it would be a virtual election, and that's the way to go. I know that the rec board talked about this and they voted, it's legal to not have any kind of change. But yeah, Max, I didn't know of it. I don't know. I don't know.
I know the rec board is, like we said, passionate that they don't want it, not that they're never open to it again. But I think with this year, they are passionate that they do not want to have it this year.
And then the other question is, you need like a 10 for the state reps, senators, whoever's wondering.
That was kind of
what we're talking about. I think that makes sense, right? Two 10s. Yeah. One party. Yeah.
Because some of them want to meet with their constituents.
Oh, you mean official tax?
Yeah, just official.
Yeah, what's our stance on that?
We always said no.
If
No, no, we
it's
consider-
council
Yeah,
call.
was it considered? Because it seems like it makes sense to put a place for, the state senator.
It's a booth. Or-
Yeah, well,
Like a table.
Yeah, that's for you around the
Table
table.
with a tent over top of it, so they're not getting sunburned or whatever. Yeah,
Uh,
well,
What do you guys think?
I
I haven't seen it before.
in my opinion, it's not affordable, but
I'm floating the idea, because I know in the past that some of the reps have been like, hey, is there like a table or something, should we even show up,
that's probably.
They do reach out
Too late.
every,
Here we go.
it's not too late. No, they reach out every year, the elected officials.
It'd be nice to welcome them in some way, but it's just.
Yeah, an official.
Yeah, guys, have this on the table, but you enjoy it.
However you think that's the structure.
That's, they said it's all.
We don't,
completely
the
your-
borough doesn't do that thing, what you just do it fast, right?
We do, but it's more like information, things like that we set up. We don't do official borough.
I have a table with a local charter and educate people.
Well, yeah, we need people to sign up and go, I want to be part of
Yes.
this advisory committee. I think, well, last year's was the, comp plan.
For complaint.
Yeah,
We
gave
can get
information on the comp plan, so we can just do, just put it there, yes,
Or if they have
yeah.
questions on the.
That's separate from your discussion about.
Yeah, they're labeled.
Yeah, we came up with the idea.
It could be a table next to that or something.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, what do you guys think, like?
So to be clear, we're saying people cannot have space for campaigning, but we're providing a space for if you're already elected.
Yeah.
Well, we could provide it, or we
So
could.
don't campaign
Yeah.
while you're under
Right.
this tent.
A lot, I will say a lot more have that restriction than our blanket, nothing restriction. If you're elected, you can come and
Here's a
put
bill.
out your, put out your official materials.
Yeah.
Okay,
So like a influence service, like a.
Right.
Service.
so folks can like walk around and hand out their brochures, no one's gonna stop them, but they can't have
But I think we would tell them to have.
or someone is going to stop them. I'm just.
I don't know.
I'm not planning on campaigning, I'm
Right.
just curious what the line is.
I think what you were considering was having a tent that people could approach if they wanted information. But to have candidates walking around handing out materials, I think was
Cold calling.
beyond what we were looking.
There was a handshake agreement years ago between the two parties that they weren't gonna do it, and then
And I don't think.
it didn't, and then, yeah, races, and that went beyond, the borough. Candidates would come in and not be aware of that handshake deal, and it caused issues, people walking around and turning it into a campaign.
That makes sense. How is this being enforced?
The handshake. Action.
Don't
Don't be.
Don't people say-
It hasn't worked too badly in the past, I mean, we've talked about it, and we've just said, hey, guys, no, just now, just don't do it. Yeah, just don't do it, everybody agrees, don't do it.
I'm probably imagining a problem that's not actually happening. So-
Yeah, I mean,
Alright.
anything's possible. It happens, but it usually gets squashed pretty quickly.
Yeah, so as it is now, you can walk around. What do we say about handing things out?
We said nothing, no handout.
Right, you even want to talk
I
to
know,
people, you can wear your t-shirt with your name and everything.
I feel like maybe we like that's.
That was adopted last year.
that was just to know. So not.
And how is this being communicated to folks who are coming to the?
We tell the parties and.
Yeah, the parties
I see.
disseminate the information.
Is what we've done in the past. I think we even sent a letter usually.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very gray.
So we have, it is.
Actually,
it
not
is-
gray
it
at
is-
all, actually.
It's not, so we can leave it like that. We can say, political booths, but if you're elected official, you can either provide one booth for all of them.
You have a public information booth for your.
If they wanted something like that, maybe we expand the borough booth and allow them to.
I mean.
I don't know, some option like that, I don't
I
know.
think you want to keep the borough booth separate from.
Yeah,
Our
especially with.
our discussions about criminal charter have nothing to do with political parties.
Yeah, they don't.
No, I'm saying no. It's for elected.
I mean, they generally, when they reach out from offices, usually they have a standard booth setup that they come with that is usually information about programs or things they're trying to get into their constituents' hands. It's generally not campaigning at that point in time. And we can also tell them, listen, we can give you space this year to come give your information, but there's to be no campaigning trinkets involved in that. And you must stay within your booth area if you are talking about your information.
But maybe that's a way to test how the political stuff. Yeah, we can try out if we start with the elected officials. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm not advocating one way or another.
That seems good, but I would definitely say keep the borough booth away from.
Yeah, separate now.
Only because the Humboldt Charter is a universal idea.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, it doesn't have any partisan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Put it in
yes,
between.
bipartisan.
So you're gonna put an axe through it.
So yeah, we know don't wanna like muddy the waters with that. And actually I thought a good place to the borough of Humboldt would be next to the porta potties, because we talk now, we can have hand sanitizers and educate them about the thing. I don't know.
Who's gonna work that booth next to the porta potty?
yeah.
Got it.
We're probably going to try to keep it more, I gotta get my layout, but I think we may, where the police and ambulance generally are now, we may move them and put the.
You've been replaced by that.
So, which
Okay,
isn't,
we're flexible, yeah.
yeah, it's just two booths that we would move at that point.
Okay.
Okay, so public information for the elected officials, the state reps. And
Yeah.
they can come.
You have a vote for each party and they
It's up
can,
to you.
and vote, people can approach them if they want to.
Yeah. That's distinct from what Zach was saying, which is they already have their own little setup. They just want permission to put it there. We may not have to do any of the stuff that, just say, if you want to bring your booth and set up, go for it. Just no campaign.
Yeah, and they've tried to do that with night out.
Have a
things like
circle on
that.
the grass that said, this is the Democratic.
You know,
Like in Las Vegas.
Within that circle.
Walk out of your circle.
Oh, yeah, the different.
I mean, to be fair, there are painted boxes on the grass, so, we can tell them they gotta stay in their 12 by
Number
12.
45 for you, number 70 or.
okay.
Yeah, it really should, I can't imagine it being more than state rep, states. No, and so.
Well, it would be
Council, but I
Ben
can't.
Cat, it would be Robinson and Williams, possibly. Is Williams
No.
still part?
No.
Okay, so then it just.
Delusion.
Okay.
So free. I mean, I guess,
And then county.
Village County Council could, but I can't.
Right.
She wouldn't.
Yeah, usually, I mean, anytime county was involved in the previous years, it was usually when we did like basket raffles, they just donated for a raffle. But I've never had them set a booth up, so.
So we're good. They want to bring the booth, they want to bring the booth, that's good. You'll figure out where to put.
The elected officials.
Yeah.
You'd like us to, we can come back to you with a drawing, a layout, so the council can see how we propose. So,
Yeah, I don't even think you need the two parties. I think you just. Yeah, and I just. Booth. I don't.
Yeah, we can.
If they're bringing their own booth, then we don't really need to deal with the party or not
Okay.
party. Yeah, because then I think that makes it more parts.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my opinion. No, I agree totally.
Yeah, it sounds like they have standard set up everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, I know McCandless does.
Okay.
I'd say that we have a good booths.
Yeah, I think that we can put it in the calendar.
If we could.
Yeah, and just if people want to
I
see
think that's
them,
true.
they all seem to get along.
Some things that-
it's okay, because we don't want them to disturb like the phone, like, activity or something.
Yeah,
Put them together,
I mean-
they sign some area that, okay, you can stand,
Just
you
agree,
know,
guys.
do whatever here, and,
That makes perfect sense.
mm.
And without the different party booths, now you're taking it part of it out of it. The politics.
Would you like us to reach out to them and let them know, since it's a change?
Right, yeah. why not?
And ask them if they're gonna bring their own booths, so
Sure.
if they don't, we can have something there. for them.
And we'll keep our table away from them. Yeah, right. So, okay.
Every home rule charter table needs to be away from.
The borough table.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, any other questions? Anything else, Zach?
All for,
Yeah, no,
For now, yeah.
Adam, a lot. Okay, Jim?
I have my report there. And, you know, the parks, you know, obviously the weather, the wet, the spring, the windstorms, a couple weeks later. They guys been busy with that. I am meeting tomorrow with the electrician from baseball about putting lights on field forward and getting a final layout for that as well. Also,
They told me they got a little bit more money from Pirates for a while.
I didn't know.
I don't know how much we're gonna be funding that too. But they're gonna run whatever.
The guys have been working hard with the baseball fields, trying to keep them in playing condition.
They've been great.
So it's the back and forth, it's kind of, in the park right now, we do have one autonomous mower today that's mowing the football field this afternoon.
What'd you think of it?
I like it. It's one of those things where it's a tool, it's not gonna replace mowing but it's, I think it'd be a useful tool down the road, especially like in the summertime when we're running all those weeks of activities that, the guys can't mow the field for rings of days, they work at night, they work, the mower does a thing on its own time. It's unmanned, it's all controlled from the cell phones.
They could do it in the dark too.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, so, we'll play with it for a couple of days and, we have it till probably early next week if anybody, if you want to reach out, if anybody wants to see how it works and how it's mowing and how it's working on the football field. We'll have it mow there for a few days. We'll have it mow on the meadow for a few days. See how it works down there. It's it mows 27 inches wide, but it's a 30-some inch wide mower. Roll over the ground. It's very quiet. I mean, you can stand next to it and talk. It's, you almost don't even know it's mowing. It's just going back and forth points.
Is it like a Roomba
Roomba.
that bounces off you if it's easier? Or just
It's run your foot over it.
And that's what, that's the biggest thing with, the technology's come along so far. So the originals, obviously, they were like a Roomba. They just kind of just mowed. And now they actually mow patterns. So that's how they're getting into municipalities and ball fields and things like that. The technology's come a very long way in a short time. So, it's one of the, with the amount of projects we have with the guys, and the limited, number of guys we have, if you take the mowing, the big portions of it, you'll be able, we have plenty of other things to take care of that we're slowly fall behind our list. We take one thing off the list, a new thing comes on the list. Even when it is raining, it's light enough that, you can mow fields and not tear them off and those kind of different things. But I'll get more information as we go. I have it on Ryan over at the park, has it on his phone. He's the one controlling it right now. We set it up today. So that's moving forward and see where we're at, and then we'll get lost and everything else. And I know Mount Lebanon was looking at it for, like their pool areas and because we'll take it over to the golf course after that. Because we can tell the machine to mow the fairways at one height, and when it's done there, it'll raise itself up height wise and start filling rock. So
It does a good enough job.
it does a very nice job. They're just little for razor blades, nothing real big or crazy.
Yeah.
They're literally just little razor blades. More of a grass maintainer than a mower. It is mowing, but when it gets high, you have to get the big mowers out and get it back under control. So the golf course is, obviously the weather earlier in the month was slow. Been very busy since. All the leagues are up and running. We're busy with leagues. So we're good there. The windows in the clubhouse were put in last week, so that's been completed. So later in the year, we'll look at the siding and everything else and have that done.
Did you move the camera yet?
We have not, because he just finished the windows, so we'll see with, time wise, we'll definitely get that. Now that he got the windows in, we can start moving forward with. So I have to run all the Cat 6 cables from the ceiling down now to that side, so we can start moving that process along. And then lastly, I just have that I didn't have in my report is, it's almost that time for our golf outing. We're only it's May, but we're only, it's the end of July. Donna's been working very hard with that. She's already sent out, some of the advertising and obviously we need sponsors, lunch sponsors, a title sponsor. There's different ways people can help that way to help the scholarship. And then as we do every year, I'll give you guys we just pledge that everybody tries to get a foursome together. More, every year we struggle towards the end. They want a minimum of 80, anything over 100 is a bonus. We get to higher numbers, obviously more money comes in. So if you're not a golfer, if you're in your neighborhood or friends, encourage them to sign up early so we have a count. And obviously the more successful the golf outing, the more successful the scholarship is.
Yeah, especially with upping the scholarship this year.
We'll need to keep replenishing. So, You know, if you don't golf or can't get a foursome, you know, a sponsorship with, you know, the people you may know who helps out us in Bona. You do have our 1 month sponsor already, Primrose already committed, but, so. Moving forward, so not that far away from you. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, Like up.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do a copy of our written reports, just a couple of quick updates since we published the report last week. Close out for Palumbo, we did have a few grass areas that didn't take on Branch School Road. Sent them a letter, we talked to them, you know, yesterday, the day before, but they'll be back to address those. We can clean up the residents on Branch School where the sidewalk is. And then the big update is Acorn Park. Other submittal went back to DEP today. We are in very, very, very fine nuance back and forth. A very particular interpretation of riparian buffers.
Was that, you forwarded them today, was that your response from before, you just reforwarded it?
No, this was a second re-response. So we had our permitting manager talk to them. A couple of the responses today were as simple as we changed the color of the line on the easement on the plan, so it stood out.
They want us to,
Talk over that.
they want us to grant ourselves an easement and record it for the riparian buffer on our property. You're saying, why would we do that? Finally, the higher up said, no, we just want to make sure it's protected.
So we think we're at a satisfactory point for them.
Yeah, we received an email last week saying that we've been granted our draft permit,
Yes.
but now it's got to be posted for 30 days for public comment before it becomes final. And then 3 days later, we get this guy sending, wait, we still have some questions here.
So our permitting manager, like I mentioned, talked to them, talked to review here. We think we have the nuance resolved and it's permanent. It's just one good process.
The DEP has hired a bunch of new people. They're sticklers for detailing.
That's not it.
That's not-
Very particular nuanced interpretation.
Yeah,
Clear for version.
Sean's office finally came back and said, tell us what regulation you're referring to so that we can give you what you're asking. That's when the higher up said, oh, no, we want to make sure you're protected in the riparian buffer.
We've explained to them this is a park, you know, so this is going to be the borough.
In the middle of the woods.
It is a park today, where we made a park, all of that kind of stuff, so. Long story short, without putting things, but I think what I'm gonna say is hopefully, when we meet again soon, we're gonna be asking for permission from council to go to the board.
And I guess we have to wait 30 days before we do that, because they've got to post it and wait for public comment.
Yeah.
I mean, they likely won't get any public comment.
No.
I assume they publish it in the Pennsylvania
It
Bulletin,
does.
which comes out weekly.
Which everybody reads.
I used to read it every week.
It is important, so, you know. it'll go
The
there.
general public.
General population doesn't even know it exists.
We've continued work in the background, we'll be ready to go.
Okay.
We'll be ready to start talking to you in 2 weeks about, Jim already got some quotes for tree removal that, he's asking council to consider.
That's a big update, then, fingers crossed, it's fine here.
So it's supposed to be done by the end of this year under DCNR.
Yeah.
Grant.
Aside from that, that was the big one. I did want to update council and if there's any questions, anything else.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure, so I think outside of the report, the only thing worth mentioning, if that's even the case, is Reach and I did a site visit at a residence location on Montgomery Road, I think it was. They just had some problems with drainage, so we walked through, identified some potential issues. And then to follow up on the report, Reach, I do have some documents for you to sign regarding the fish run JPA recent.
Okay.
I'll just leave those with you. And then just give me a call or shoot me an email. I'll pick them up anytime you're ready.
Sounds good. We're still in the process of getting easements, and one of them we'll be talking about in executive session. But it's just simply, it's not easy. People either want paid or they don't want this on their property. I like Max's idea that in the future, we just simply condemn the property and take it.
We try to do it the right way.
Just keeps pushing us back. And that Montgomery property, we actually, that's the ongoing issue we've had with flooding in the houses, although since we installed the new catch basin and raised the curves, there has not been flooding any houses, but we still need to do something more permanent. So we've been working with the folks on the corner house. We actually applied for a CDBG grant for that, and we're still waiting to hear on that. So I think the project is estimated to cost $300,000-$400,000. I think CDBG, they pay 85% of the cost. So hopefully we'll get that grant.
It'll be a longer fix.
Yes, yes. A lot of work needs to be done to clean up what is basically an informal detention pond there. And it's just it's a mess.
I can mention and see if.
Details?
The executive session.
Any questions? Pete?
I was very concerned for a minute there when Zach started talking about porta johns behind the police department's tent. I'm hoping that we can avoid that. So you have my report. Two things that I wanted to note in the report were, one was our JMAR, which is what we use to monitor traffic and determine times, dates, locations for speed enforcement. We get a lot of speeding complaints, and that's a way we can address all those issues. The one we have is from 2011. It is pretty much dead now. It will not work or operate. The company said it would be about $2,000 to upgrade it. But then after we upgrade it, they offer us no warranty, no upgrades from that. That's it. So we talked to them as well as another company to get prices. A new one from that same company, JMAR, would cost around $5,000. They provide brackets, they provide a computer designated for the JMAR. And then the other company, All Traffic Solutions, they also offer a similar device. The cost initially is a little cheap, around a little over $4,100, but the problem is you have to buy into cloud storage, and then it becomes a monthly fee for that. With the JMR, we don't have to have a cloud storage. And we don't really have a need to have the cloud storage, and over time, that would end up costing more. So, ironically enough, over the last couple of days, we had a couple speeding complaints where I'd like to deploy the JMR, and we've not been able to do that. So it's something that I'd like to purchase for the department and move forward with that. And then the other.
Let me just.
Sure, yeah. Okay. So, the other issue is right to an executive session. And other than that, you have my report. I should also note that there have been incidences in Old Orchard and Blueberry Park. We've had the same 3 juveniles that have destroyed the bathroom over at Old Orchard and drew some obscene gestures on the walk. And they also damaged some property over at the Blueberry, the snack shack. I'm not sure, we haven't gotten an estimate on that damage yet, but we're having these same 3 kids. So issued a no trespassing order against them, sent it to their parents. The order allows them to be in the park as long as they have adult supervision with them. But I need to deter them from continuing to destroy our parks. They did a number on the Old Orchard, and we're having problems replacing the panels on that, and that can get pretty costly. So,
Chief, have they been to like the magistrate for a discussion?
well, other than the damage they've done in the park, they've been to the magistrates a couple times now. So we're having consistent problems with the same kids.
And they're okay being on video while they're doing it apparently, because it's easy for you to just keep having the same people on.
Yeah, the video, but honestly, part of our officers, Officer Dangler and Officer Blada, did a great job with the video of identifying them. But then also the last incident in Blueberry, they actively caught them as they were trying to flee and hide in the woods from them. So they've done a great job with that.
What age are they?
13.
Wow.
So
Have they been issued tickets, like?
yes.
Or fined or? something? Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
the fine's up to the
Okay.
magistrate,
Okay.
but
Okay.
yeah, they've been issued citations.
So their parents will cover the cost, right, to fix it.
Let's hope.
They're just talking about restitution order too. The magistrate did that as well. You guys put in your damages for having to replace the stuff.
Yeah, we're working with Zach and we're gonna work with the association with the Snack Shack to find out, yeah, how much the cost is gonna be.
Yeah, because the magistrate can enter restitution order.
Yeah.
Convictions. We think you would do that. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What exactly is the J-Mart?
I'm sorry, so.
I tried to Google it and couldn't figure it out.
Oh, yeah, J-Mart is, looks like,
Week, right?
This is
well,
like you see on a street that has your speed.
no, so the one we purchased is incognito. It is a box. We attach it to a tree or pole. It causes no damage to the tree or pole. You can't even tell it's there. And that's what's great about it. And it will get in both directions. It'll tell us the number of traffic, of vehicles that pass through there. We usually leave it on for a week or 2 weeks to collect as much data as we can.
I see.
And it tells us whether or not it's an area that needs enforcement or doesn't. It provides graphs and charts, and it's very, very comprehensive, and it gives us a really good look at, because when someone tells us, I'm speeding in my neighborhood, and we ask them, well, we have a lot of neighborhoods, what time of day is it occurring? And a lot of times people say all day, or I'm not sure, or so this gives us the ability to kind of narrow that so we can pinpoint the problem times.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's a prerequisite to finally giving a traffic ticket in the area, right? You have to have this study or whatever. before you-
No, just make a speed limit.
That's okay.
No, yeah, it can help with speed limit changes, but it is more for us to know what times to be in the area.
Okay.
And it kind of evolves into, we have to use VASCAR as opposed to radar, because radar has not been passed.
Mhm.
So we have a very restrict amount of speed that we have to allow before we can
Sure.
have enforcement. So it can be difficult for us. So especially in a neighborhood, visibility, we have lines on the road versus the state police with radar where they can sit and catch you as you're coming to it. And you don't have lines on the road to know where they're actually sitting. So it's our way of trying to make the most of our time in enforcement.
What's the improvement, new versus the old, what we're currently using? What's the improvement?
Well, the other one is over 10 years old, 11 years old. So the software has been changed and updated, just like everything else from computers. It's like going from probably going from an old version of Windows to a new version of Windows. But it does all the same things that we needed to do.
You all have one. We have none operational.
Non-operational, we've only ever had one. That's probably all we really need. Now we have those all traffic solution put up by the road crew on Branch Road and locations like that. That's the one that will tell you your speed, but those do not record any information downloadable for us to say, hey, that's enforcement times or anything like that.
Does it record basically the same way, or does the information look different?
It records pretty much the same way. I haven't seen a printout of how the data comes and looks, but prior one was very comprehensive and used, so it's not gonna be any worse.
So it's just a matter of one's old and one's new and updated.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I'm sure they'll maintain this one for a while, software wise.
Yes, yeah.
Well, we get a lot of complaints. I've seen these over the years, the chief for the police departments. they move it to different locations, leave it there for 2 weeks, and then you can see that, okay, the neighbors are saying, everybody's flying through here. I think the one plan, I'm going from memory, the speed limit was like 25, and there was only, only 2% of the cars or something were actually above 25.
Yeah,
So, and you have a record for a 2 week period in there.
Yeah.
And you can see, or is it 50% or over 25?
Mm.
And the police department can look at that, like, and not only do they know what the speed is, they plot a graph and they know what hour it is.
yeah. I'd be more than happy to email all council a prior report to see what it looks like. It's very, very detailed, very, very much so.
Chief Bailey's motive before and comprehensive is definitely right.
Yeah.
There's a problem.
They've been in our packets in the past, but I don't think there's been any since you've been on council.
No, as we found, it was, on its last leg and now it's not, we can't even get it to operate at this
Maybe we
point.
can dig one out and share them more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's the warranty? There must be a warranty, right? Or a service line?
Yeah, I don't know what'll be on the new one, but yeah, the other one's obviously expired.
Yeah. Okay.
So old one, how many years have we used this old one?
We used it up until, I believe, last year. So yeah, we got a total of 12 years out of it. So
So what I'm thinking that if we can upgrade the old one and so it's supposed to be working for another 10 years. Right?
well, ideally, yes.
I say
Yeah,
that.
the problem is if we spend $2,000 for that one to be upgraded, if it causes me problems, the company won't even help me solve those problems.
It's available.
It's, yeah,
Available.
yeah.
It is a win.
Then if that case, get a new one.
So it's 5,000. That was a.
Yes,
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we only need the one.
Putting that motion. You say the chairs are gone? Council's chairs again. Good call.
I'll bring my chair up from downstairs. You can have it. I'll bring a bean bag in.
So they're out of any place, so. Okay.
We're only here twice.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Anything else, Chief?
No, that's all I have. Thank you.
Cool. All right, next.
You have my written report. Do have some items under executive session. We'll add the police personnel matter and the Latera zoning application litigation.
All right, sounds good.
As far as sticking around, we need Zach and, Jim. Keep obviously. Everyone else, and stay if you'd like. Brian, you say you have something?
All right, thanks, both.
I was just gonna call and stop by. I think.
Do we get you're calling first? Are we allowed to like flip around and?
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Zach,
Good, yeah, good.
that way we can,
Yeah, enjoy that.
all right. Okay, yeah, so the deer culling program, explain it or you want to, or I can talk about it? Okay, so this came up, last week, I talked to residents and they were very, very concerned about deer. And they had all sorts of wild ideas about how to take care of the problem. And they said that they offered solutions to the borough and the borough refused. And a lot of this is like very like talking in the open. So I saw you put a report together about the deer. That's fantastic. Thank you. And then I noticed one item, there were some options and recommendations. So I thought we just like talk through it and just talk about strategy here. That's that.
As far as, they said they bring recommendations to the borough in the past.
One was a salt bucket to not kill deer, but kill the ticks that are on the deer. And yeah, I vaguely
I know
remember.
we've had the speakers about taking care of deer ticks, but that was like
Yes.
spraying every yard in the borough and.
It wasn't like
Yeah,
salt, this one was salt buckets, or some sort of buckets or something, and basically the deer would lick the salt or eat it like candy or something. And
They're attracted to salt.
Isn't it a
buckets,
salt
but
lick?
Yeah.
yeah, so like Okay.
It's baiting.
Baiting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's against our ordinance
Draws
to
deer in,
do it.
Okay, it keeps them alive, right? Doesn't that- But it kills a tick, so I guess it solves the tick problem.
Yeah,
But
it's
Wait,
never-
saw that kill a chick on a deer?
I think that's the way the person explained it. I was like, I'd never heard of this, but,
I can't say I've ever researched that. Yeah.
okay, but there were also some like, it was one of the many ideas that I heard, so,
Oh, free range chickens, that works too, right? Because we just
that's,
And the positive.
reached out for rotting chickens and.
yeah, release 1,000 chickens in the borough.
Wait,
But
are
yeah,
we trying
so-
to address ticks, or are we trying to address deer?
Well, the deer is a real
I
problem.
know they
But
go
this person,
together, but they're.
yeah,
not
but the
like-
individual said, well, if you're not gonna get rid of the deer, at least get rid of the tick problem, because deer
Okay,
are the tick, right?
Right.
But yeah, that came up, and the other was, there's a lot of licenses that they seem to think about, that we issue licenses, and I'm like, well, what is that? I'm sure he'd be happy to go through the protocols, but anyways, like, what are some recommendations? Maybe we should talk about it and just see if there's anything we could, I don't know, message or help with.
Yeah, so we started under our control as of last year for the deer calling program. We had a plan, we implemented the plan. Unfortunately, about half of our hunters didn't hunt or didn't participate. That's what, we had the same number as the previous company did, but we did it for free. So we did win in that sense, but the real problem is that we didn't have enough people in our areas, the borough and properties, that we needed to have that. So really, it goes from, we tried to keep it all in-house. So basically, every person that we had go out this year was part of the either a borough employee, or they were known to me personally as people we could trusted to be within our woods. They are mostly parks employees from other areas, things like that, who are going to take care of our properties. People we trust to be in the woods with us. Unfortunately, like I said, even having people like that, we still didn't have them out hunting. Therefore, the next recommendation is either going to be opening to hunters that are Franklin Park residents, which I think I already have at least 4 or 5 emails from last year, people wanting to participate. But it was our first year, we wanted to see what our results were. Or do we open it to anybody within the greater area? Do we give a preference, take every application we can and give a preference to Franklin Park residents? That's really up to you. The long and the short of it is we need more people with more time in the woods.
They took what, 12?
They took 13.
It's the same number that. Spurring went into the election.
What are your thoughts on that?
Archery, only archery and
Residents
alligator.
versus
I mean, you can do black.
Southwest
but
PA.
No.
Yeah, I'm not a hunter, so I'm not real familiar with all this, but, I mean, I think the way the borough has handled it, I don't know if it's getting the numbers we want, but it's been handling where we're not getting complaints or problems from those people that are hunting, so.
I noticed you said something about strictly enforcing leash law too. Is that a problem?
Leash law is a huge problem in our parks. I would say 1 out of every 3 times I'm in the park, I'm talking to somebody about having leashes on. And we have some repeat offenders who I've basically given last warnings to. But especially Blueberry, when they get into that trail system back there in Blueberry, they immediately let the dogs off. Or I see them coming out of the trails with the dogs off the leash. And right away their argument is, well, I'm back on the trail. Well, sure, but there's still other people, there's still other animals that are back in those trails. But that was a major complaint from the archery hunters we had, was basically there's just dogs wandering around, moving the deer away from any near path, which generally the deer will follow a standard path of movement morning and evening. But if there's an animal roaming free within those paths, that's going to change what their migration patterns are. So yes, that was, multiple, probably at least 15 to 20 days of complaints about animals being off leash, well, dogs, being off leash. We also had an incident in Acorn where, as far as we can tell, somebody was spraying deer deterrent to keep the deers out of the area. And actually was witnessed by somebody. I'm sorry.
They don't want you to be killed.
Like, okay, not in their private, like,
No.
property.
No,
like
in park.
Okay,
At Acorn, yeah, like in the trails, along the trails.
Which is where most of the kids end up coming from.
Well, that's where we had the most hours put in,
Yeah.
was because there was a group of, friends who were all, and they also hunted in tandem, almost 95% of the time. They were barely ever out as a single. And especially in archery, you generally have somebody who pushes, deer towards another member. And that's, the movement causes that to then have the shots that they need. It is, hunting solo is very hard. You just basically, it's a hope and a prayer that the deer crosses within your 20, 30 yard range, to make sure that it is a clean hunt. Anything more than that, is, I mean, I know some of the crossbows now are getting a little outrageous, for how fast and scoped and all that stuff, but really, especially with the woods and Acorn as dense as it is, and, Lynbrook as dense wooded as it is, you want to be 30 yards or less, to make it right. But that was another one, the big, like I said, the animals not having enough numbers. And then I know there was one more on the bottom, sorry.
Those in parks and trails.
So
yeah, closures.
the closures, and that's, we're taking away services to the rest of the borough, and the greater area. But the largest successes in parks have been when they shut them down for a weekend, or they close trails for, certain days of the week when we know, and then they would generally have a number of hunters in that time period that they're not, I don't want to say worried, but obviously we shouldn't have general public within the area. It should only be hunters in the area at that time. It does make things a little easier. You can space them out easier. You can put them every 150 yards or so along the trail lines. You can have them in the field areas. Because obviously, if they're hunting and there's lacrosse games or cricket games going on, that's going to kick up any kind of wildlife that would be even remotely close to those areas.
I think the city of Pittsburgh just started to shut down the park for a weekend and bring in hunters. And I think it was pretty successful.
Yeah, I forget which park it was. I thought they did like 40 in like a weekend.
Really? Just in one park.
It's the one park. I said it's
Big park.
it was a big park. I want to say like 120, 150 acres. Which again is pretty, I mean, Lynbrook has fields, but probably relatively close to a Lynbrook type of park. And especially with Lynbrook that borders the Allegheny Land Trust land, that turns a little over 100 acres into over 200 acres quickly. And they do allow hunting on their property. So it's a matter of reaching out to them, and we can also create a partnership with them if that's the, if you want to do a shutdown weekend or something, I'm sure they'd be willing to talk about something on their end as well.
Yeah, okay.
So I think it's a viable solution as long as we have enough notice, just try them.
And archers.
Yeah, you start.
And we could do a different park each weekend. We don't have to cut down all of our
Yeah,
parks.
that's a good idea.
Because we do want to, I think all of our parks, all of our properties frankly could be.
Yeah, well, and Blueberry only have one deer. There's so many deer between Blueberry and here and everything. Yeah, I don't know how else
Yeah, they
Oh.
constantly cross the lower exit of Blueberry. I mean, every month I see deer crossing over the bottom, there at McDivitt. Blueberry would be the hardest one. That would probably be more of a trail shutdown to enforce that. Will be hard. Lynbrook, we close the gate November 1st every year. So it's then a matter of closing the gate and just signing, and then just notifications to the neighbors that are walking distance essentially to the backside of the park.
This is just during the 2 weeks of hunting, or this is all year.
So hunting generally is, I don't have the dates for this year yet, but usually it's like end of September, through the beginning of December, I believe it is, and then it's a month off and then the month of January. So it is like 3 full months, all said and done.
I think the big issue right now, and for us is to find more hunter.
Correct.
So can we advertise them?
Yeah, and it's really up to you. Yeah, I think we need to advertise it because, like I said, we try to keep it in-house. We didn't get the hours logged that we expected or wanted.
Okay.
So,
Can we first do it in the Franklin Park, just to put a post somewhere, like tell people like, okay, please, if you are interested in hunting, join us.
like our new, like our digital sign.
Yeah, digital sign or physical post somewhere and tell them like probably contact you.
Political sign.
Yeah, I was gonna say the,
We
there's like a sportsman.
No.
Snowmobile thing, like, I mean. the
And their
board-
membership is.
Yeah, I think Tom, you're a member. You remember Nova?
Is it,
Yeah,
Put up a
we just
flyer.
had that one.
Come on.
is it realistic that it would be a big event where like you could have food trucks at the beginning of, before they get to where they're actually hunting, they could like eat and then go hunt, make a big thing out of it? Is that possible? I mean,
Well,
Hunters like.
let me just say, it is always a double-edged sword. That's why we try to be low-key about it. Anytime you see a municipality that says, hey, everybody, we're killing deer, it becomes a problem.
You could talk nice about not letting them out.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they went about.
That wasn't-
That's what they, you know.
So if we're able to find hundreds without posting something out there for everyone to see, that's a better event for us. Because again, if you announce to everybody that, hey, we're gonna be killing deer in our parks, you're gonna get a lot
Yeah,
of park residents coming up saying, don't shoot deer.
Yeah, there probably won't be one spraying deer repellent.
So another thing is that since Pittsburgh, right, and has a very successful story, right? Can we reach out to the,
How'd they do it?
you know, and-
Well, they were having problems until this most recent.
I was gonna say, yeah, they just had the numbers out there to do it, and like the shutting down of the park was a major
Yeah,
advantage.
I don't know, they may have gone through, did they go through a formal organization to get their hunters? Or did they just?
I think they were partnered with somebody. They
Yeah,
didn't,
they probably
I don't think
found-
they handled it in-house.
Yeah, I think they found an organization that supplied the hunters.
Which we did have for years.
Right. So
But
they decided to charge us $3 a year.
yeah, the cost was really the issue of what.
And they weren't taking, they took the same amount and they had began to look like they were cherry picking and they didn't really.
Yeah, it wasn't a market.
I heard here about it data too, right? So.
Maybe the targeted advertising first, like at Millvale and like.
Yeah, I think we try to find hunters behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
there's
posted
Millvale,
publicly, but
there's
not
the,
out from rooftop.
even, let's go to the north side, is that
There's
Wexford
one, there one in the, on the way to Economy or Baden, there's one, is it Economy, is that what it's called?
I think there is.
Economy's
one.
more-
There is one down there. Gary, but
Over
Yeah,
Warren
north
Down.
side, that's on
Yeah, in this area.
I think that would be, that's, I think.
That's fine. That opens up to more than Franklin Park.
I was gonna say.
But just, you know, relatively.
Maybe-
low.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yes,
Spread the word.
Do you want to do that and then still allow them to hunt whenever they want to hunt, or do you want to go with the weekend where you shut down the parks?
Can we combine it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
do both.
can we do both?
We're all in.
We should combine it, or if they're signing up to hunt whenever they want to, they also agree to do that one hunt.
We're getting priority for that.
Yeah.
That's, how's that sound?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there, there's no,
Well,
there's no drawback, right?
what we can't do is just give somebody carte blanche in that property anymore, because we're seeing guys who want to do that and then don't show up.
Right.
And that just, you tell a couple hunters, Lindbergh Park is yours, and then they have 0 hours over the course of the
No
hunting season. Kind of screws up.
So you're talking about giving them access to Lynbrook when the gate would be closed anyway.
And they had it last year.
But people
Yeah.
can still walk the trails.
Yeah.
when the
Right.
gate closes.
People
Right.
can walk up and play on the fields if they walk through the field.
It
Same-
would kind
same
of
with Blue Bear.
expand this though, from a PR standpoint. We're maybe causing ourselves more problems by saying the park is open to anyone, and also there's hunters in the park.
But that's what it is now.
I know people don't know that.
We're signed across every bridge.
Well, it says that, but I don't think people realize there's actively
They
folks.
called us. They called me, I should say,
Okay,
and question it, and then half of them want to know how to belong, which is nice.
maybe, I maybe we can do a combination of both, but I think maybe a weekend saying this trail is closed, or this portion of the park is closed for a deer calling program, I think might be,
I
mean, red flag.
okay, so.
So should we say trail maintenance?
But we can also post with our, the sign, the hunting signs, we can also post when the season dates are.
Yeah,
I mean, which is, because non-hunters aren't aware of what the actual dates are, and there are weird, it's like 3 weeks here, and then it's off for 3 days, and then it's back for another 2 weeks.
It's,
They're kind of hit or miss.
September 21 through November 29, and then December 26th through January 25.
So if
you wanna close some of them to wildlife management.
Like a rolling,
That's-
rolling weekend.
That's a
maybe.
better way to message it.
And honestly, probably, if you wanted the most out of it, the Christmas to New Year's week is your best bet.
Just closing.
Just because a lot of people are off.
Or town.
That's not bad.
do people use the parks during that time? In general?
I mean, as much as, obviously, it's a cold time, so not outdoors necessarily. Blueberry will still have the playground open, which, isn't near where we would be hunting there anyway, but there's always going to be rentals going on. But yeah, it's definitely something. It's shorter days too, is the only other issue there. So a lot of times to get out after work, you might only have an hour. And that's kind of late season. What we run into is, unless you're basically taking the day off, you don't get a lot of time in. Because we had a lot of people going out at 4:30, and then the cutoff time was 5:40 or something. So you got in, set up, you might have 40 minutes of actual hunt time. So you gotta be back out, because it's 30 minutes before sunrise and 30 minutes after sunset that you're actually allowed in woods.
And then, the leash, so is there an ordinance? Already
There is,
The
that's
PA
on my
ordinance.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime I'm at, for example, anytime I'm at Acorn Park, and there's somebody there watching my dog, the dog is off leash.
That Acorn is not as bad. Obviously, Acorn isn't as popular of a park.
Yes,
Yeah, I was gonna say that will obviously, hopefully, turn up usage wise. Blueberry is heavily used, and that's kind of what my proposal is. If it's hunting season, we're not even gonna give warnings on it. We're just gonna get a hold of the police and have them write citations, because that, is that the only reason why we're not getting as many deer? No, obviously not, but it's certainly not helping in the fact,
It's an impact.
yeah, it has a major impact.
I know we've talked in the past about possibly doing dog parks and similar worship, but we're holding up, looking for them there. So the park.
Yeah, we're trying the best we can to do it right, do site plans for all of our parks. We're gonna work in the future.
Just looking at the some of the shows feel very folks there.
Probably with the parks comp plan, if we don't get the DCNR grant this year, we may just want to go ahead and do it ourselves. Total cost is under $100,000.
Yeah, I think it's.
We'll deal with that if we don't get the grant.
Cool, anything else closing out or?
I mean, it's just, like I said, we do need to start advertising to get the applications in because we gotta do testing, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's really up to you. I assume we want to expand to the general public. Do we want to expand outside of Franklin Park? Do we want to give preference to Franklin Park or just only Franklin Park?
I'm not really.
Do we think we'll have a?
No,
I think you want to find good.
I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is there oversupply of apple? I mean, do you think that makes?
we didn't.
Oh, okay, all right.
We don't know that answer.
I think exactly what you do is take the 5 emails you got from people interested last year, consider them, and then reach out to places like the Millville Sportsman Club. And we don't have to do a general posting saying we're looking for hunters. We try to behind the scenes find.
Yeah, I bet we'll get some decent
If
response.
we have a problem and we don't get enough hunters that way, then we might consider doing it.
That's a good approach.
Yeah, I thought Millvale was at almost 500 memberships.
I know.
15.
15 with families and everything.
Yes, it's
So that's, and I mean, that's,
see real life.
you're not gonna really drive more than 30 minutes for your membership. So that right there tells you how many,
A lot of Franklin Park residents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're gonna get Cranberry, Marshall, Franklin Park.
That's good.
And then be forthwith, we can call this particular agenda item wildlife monitor.
Yeah.
Who have the ecological improvements.
Yeah,
I mean, it is improved the parks.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
One thing you have to be aware of when you're doing this is there's always the risk of a deer that's been hit. They run for some distance and they can end up being in somebody's yard. You know, my son used to get about 3 a year on the hill behind our house, and 1 year he had a really good hip and it ran about 3 houses on and it landed right in somebody's backyard, and they called the game warden. Who didn't do anything. He come out, he said, yeah, you know, the people weren't even upset. They just thought the deer, something was wrong with it, but it was still moving. So they took care of finishing it off, but that can happen if you're in an area that's close to homes.
We actually just had one right there off Ingemar Heights where it was flooding on that last one. Like, there was one in the creek bed that had been from the past archery season
Really?
and washed downstream.
You'd like to think they're all perfect shot and they're gonna put art, you know, they don't always knock it on immediately. Even with a high power rifle, they'll still run. But archery, they may run a little bit further.
Good.
Or reaching out, then I'll put together, what we'll do is I'll put together like a flyer and with our rules and regulations of our expectations, things like that, and what they need to get to me and start. Like I said, we'll start at Millvale,
Okay.
see if we get any jump from there, which I would assume we're gonna get something. And then if we don't feel like we get enough there, I'll move on to North Side or Economy.
You're gonna check out those 5 that emailed you, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a limited number of licenses? Like,
No.
is that? Okay,
As long as, I mean, they have to give me safety courses, they have to take an archery test, which is like 6 or 10 shots. And then, they have to give me their archery license number and their, doe tag numbers. So we ask that every, they get at least 3 doe tags. Allegheny County has never run out of doe tags, because so many deer,
oh, okay, all right.
and so few places to really.
Yeah, one person mentioned that, like, there's a limited number of licenses we have that are just like sitting unused. And I was like, if I did, we talk about that.
I mean, yeah, there's licenses that go unused.
Yeah.
But yes, I've never heard anybody turn down for a doe tag in Allegheny County.
Okay.
In this 2B is what our hunting.
With the new online thing, you can actually, used to have to go downtown, you can get them locally down this starting last year. I think. They'll print them out the same way. For Allegheny.
The tags,
Yeah. Used to have to go down to the courthouse.
I was gonna say that my most recent, wasn't that most recent, I think, came out of like Walmart or something, they printed them right out the counter.
Yeah. Well, no, up to about 2 years ago, you got an application with your license, you would mail in for your first one. And then 3 weeks later, you mail in for the second one. You do them all by mail until like 2 years ago, the big pink envelope, you know what I'm talking. But recently, now they're mixing it in with the regular license. To read your kid.
Are we charging to be part of this program, I think?
The benefit to the borough, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's-
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. Right.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll see you guys.
Hey, guys. Hey, so we'll get back over to, we gotta sell it. Yeah.
We stop cutting down trees, so we don't have to worry about deer, right? They stay in the woods.
If it's to our next topic.
In case you stop and people.
Well, true.
That's true. Okay,
You just leave.
so looks like the provisions were in the packet, so.
Yeah, we did pretty
Well,
good with our meeting.
Yes, so we did have our meeting with Brian, Tim and I, we reviewed a couple other models, made some changes, that we discussed before. You know, conforming it to current defined terms in the saldo, changing some references from defined model ordinances, particularly woodlands, they use woodlands throughout. We had a defined term that had a certain acreage amount to it. So that's why this is now the tree and wooded areas rather than woodlands.
Right, definitionally
It's-
more secure.
Right, or at least not
Yeah.
cross-reference for being able to
That's right.
point to, well, there's a acreage requirement. I don't get it.
It removes that conflict because within
Yes.
statute, we decided that when it draw to council attention, this goes for development of 10 acres or more. This is what we're focused on.
And but the woodland area had an acreage, like the actual woodlands in itself
Yeah.
was a certain size. So this one,
Yeah.
if there are trees there,
Yeah.
it's a wooded area. It doesn't have a component of something.
And I talked to Tom about that. It's 10 acres or more. That's what we focused on.
That's what we had some concerns.
Yeah.
One of my concerns with this, and I just, maybe we should clarify it, I went through this when we got it in the packet. But on the very first page at the bottom, it says, no more than 60% of a wooded area may be cleared or developed. The remaining 40% shall remain as open, permanent, or maintained as permanent open space. And I guess what I was trying to get my arms around, if there's 100 acres, let's say it's all wooded, does that mean that 40% of it can't be developed at all? It has to be remain open wooded space.
Yeah,
So that's a significant reduction in what can be developed to somebody that owns parcel one. I just think, I don't know if that was the intent, but that's.
Is that how mine did it? Yeah. There's a later reference, like 1 to 4.
Yeah, there's a ratio that's to do with the trees being removed. If you have to remove one of the monster trees, then they want to make certain that there's some ratio of 1 to 4. The replacement is 4 to every 1 that you
It was
remove.
something, else. I'll find it.
Yeah.
Is it based on like a diameter? So you have
The,
to,
the
Yeah.
ones that you're replacing.
Yeah,
There was
significant
something else
size
that I
trees.
thought.
if you remove like 10 inches, you have to replace with 40?
It's here.
I think so.
Okay.
Just the number, because you can find some baby trees.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do like that if you're, you can move one that you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Is that realistic though, to, if they remove a big tree and we ask them to replace it, like where are they gonna get a big tree?
No,
Like,
yeah,
Replace with the.
well, I think the one that was removed
Right, if you remove it.
unauthorized.
Right.
Yeah.
The tree of
Right.
distinguishable.
so are we, the way this is gonna be enforced, we're still waiting for, do we hear back from Randy here on?
No,
their
I mean,
ability to enforce this?
just generally, you kind of said we have landscape architects.
Okay, yeah.
and staff.
So that's gonna be passed through of this other thing for council. The examination of the plan and compliance with this part of the ordinance will be a pass-through expense to the developer that's going through the process, just like any other engineering cost. that we
But
have.
What I'm asking is if they remove a tree that's unauthorized, so it's
Tree of
section,
distinction.
yes,
Yeah.
section E1C. Any unauthorized removal of a tree of significance for new development, the deviation of greater than 12 inches shall be replaced with a tree of the same diameter and species.
My guess is that clause is there to deter them.
Don't do it.
Right.
And if they do,
Right,
and
but
you
we-
can try to find, I was driving up, listening to NPR on the way up, it was about Arizona. You know, where all the, they have a requirement when a developer comes in, yes, it's a lot of desert, but there are trees, there are significant cacti. They have to preserve them, so there's somebody who's actually, makes $10 million a year, buying up all of the tree and significant size trees, carting them, taking care of them, and then selling them back to people that install,
Who made a
or to
mistake.
developers who make a mistake.
Yeah, right.
Um,
So they're out
I
there.
don't think, and I don't know if, they're not
I'll
gonna
find
find
it's a new business.
No.
I know, there's a lot of water.
Put it back to the truck
Yeah.
and drive it out. Can we also maybe put a fine in there in addition to that, if that,
So
Their fines available.
if we're in this, the saldo, I mean, it's a violation of the saldo, the MPC says that's a $500, per day fine, but that's usually like you're developing or anything else. So we're sort of constrained. We already have enforcement, language in the main saldo that, it's more streamlined than the zoning code, to send them a notice of violation. They can go to the zoning hearing board. Is it even a violation? Et cetera, et cetera. This one, I mean, Tim can do it as a civil enforcement action at the magistrate. So that's it. I haven't seen like a separate tree removal section in a saldo. Like some places are, putting in a separate ordinance that's maybe $1,000. It's a criminal fine. That's the maximum you can do with boroughs, but then it kind of loses its connection to land development and everything that's going on.
Could be any tree.
Any tree.
Yes,
So
any
that-
bozo that knocks a tree down could be nailed.
Yeah. So they would be in violation, they'd be in violation, of their development agreement, they'd be in violation of the saldo, and they can be taken to the magistrate. And in terms of restitution, along the same ways, like maybe it's a dollar amount.
For the tree vote.
But finding another tree in city.
Yeah. So I guess it's already there.
How would you resolve this? So like, just go back to the money question, like, what's the resolution say? I did it. And I claimed ignorance. How would I not get out of it, but make the borough whole or fix the problem? If you can't find a tree.
My guess is that the last part of that clause that says.
Yeah.
Otherwise, as close as possible.
Is this where you have to come to an understanding with borough? Ideal.
I feel like you might have to,
Tree
like,
police out there.
you might have to
Tracking
maybe
people.
expand the amount of green space that you were.
So the borough and the applicant or the individual.
Yeah.
Come to terms.
I mean, and this is two different, like, the saldo is typically, as Paul was mentioning, a plan we're putting together, meets the terms of the ordinance, it gets approved. We do the development agreement, they bond a certain infrastructure, then start doing the construction. We have Sean out there to do the inspections, and if they're going the wrong way, he corrects them, and others. So this would be, showing up on the plan, it would have that 60%, 40% breakdown, how it's gonna look, what needs to be removed, what's gonna stay. If as part of his inspection, he notices some of these trees are, not protected the way they are described here, or getting closer and closer, and he's watching it, he'll have those level of eyes on it. But, middle of the night, somebody chops down a tree, yes, there are actions you can take, but putting the exact same trees back up.
And G is what I was. The additional clearing in excess of the fund, so if you move over 60, fix it, you gotta come back up to 5.
Right.
Right.
do
So,
you feel confident there's enough safety checks between, along this whole process, that the likelihood of getting to this point
I mean, I think,
is not great?
the mistake that happens at one tree, maybe that happens, but, in terms of somebody going through the whole process and then, clear cutting the entire thing, over the weekend or something like that, it's not gonna happen, because that would be a world of hurt. And the one thing that we flagged in our discussion, we have this provision about payment,
Yeah.
for a treasurer. if they can't do something on site. And Tim had concerns about impact fees, we don't have a transportation impact fee. We do have a fee in lieu of recreation and open space, but that is specifically authorized by the Borough Code. I think this is more akin to our provision for sidewalks, which essentially say sidewalks are required unless it's not practical, and then you can pay a fee that the borough can use to put sidewalks somewhere else. So we have that. So that, and that's not specifically set forth in the MPC, but the general discussion, Tim as well, is like, did we want to be, handling these funds, making a decision, buying trees, and doing
No.
things like that?
So we're recommending the 2 seasons be removed from the draft ordinance. Yeah, yeah, just knock it out.
And the other component here, I talked to Stephanie, during one of the land use committee meetings, she mentioned she had some comments on the ordinance. I thought I had them, with me when we were putting this together. Went, look, I didn't have it. I reached out to her. She said, no, I never gave them to you. I have a Word version. I'll provide them. I'm so sure, we're pulling them together. We've met, and this is the version we have Sean looking at. Can you get it to us? And she did. I think it was like Wednesday night or something. I had meetings all Thursday. I sat down to look at it. It was more significant than I was anticipating, just in terms of some of the questions and comments and pulling pieces from other ordinances like Ross and other ones and how they went in. I think there are some good, ideas or suggestions there. I just wasn't comfortable sort of incorporating the two and saying, here's the final version. So I don't know what the pleasure of the council is. Do we move forward with sort of the draft that was being worked on? Do we incorporate some of the suggestions from EAC that aren't, major rewrites or things of that nature, and proceed with introducing this and starting through the process? And both of those options, or 3, have the land use committee continue to look at that and review the EAC's comments and consider the discussions. And that would require it to come back eventually to the ordinance.
I would suggest just we move on, and because later if we have something significant, we can always,
Yes.
update.
So
Because
it's a
we-
good start, as you like to say.
Yeah, we need to and really get something out first, and then if we face have some other issue, and we can always kind of, as I said, update or something. And we want to have one piece there and just to start and also make it to let the future developer and understand we have something like this here.
I like the idea. This is a really good start, and if we want to tweak it after looking at it some more. So that this particular is very clean. Other than, we talked about knocking out the
Section.
yeah,
Payment.
yeah, exactly.
How significant were, you mentioned their comments were like significant, that's EAC's comments?
I mean, it's mostly Stephanie's, I don't know if it was all of EAC. Yeah. But I mean, she's an engineer,
Yeah.
KU Resources.
Yeah.
I mean, she,
Or is there anything that stuck out that would be an obvious, that would be value add?
I mean, there's some smaller ones like the purpose to, reduce flooding, one sort of ad that they put in there. They did expand the definition of trees of significance, 12-inch bicentennial trees or. Put it up here.
I think Tom had mentioned at one point, that including recommended planning, but we could bring that somewhere else. Is that what we do?
Yeah, I mean, she added more details about a tree protection zone during construction.
Right,
Come
because
back from somewhere.
you can have an issue where we just saw this with our neighbor. They put this beautiful new cement driveway and French drains about 2 years ago. And there was a tree of significance, just minding its own business. Well, clearly, as they put that driveway in, they killed some of the roots or not, so they just didn't pay attention. So about 2 weeks ago, during the heavy rain, the tree just went completely over.
And as they said in Huntington, they had a week through. It just went completely the other way.
It damaged the driveway.
Nothing got damaged.
Oh,
The tree just decided it was done and just toppled over. It was perfectly green and beautiful, but because of the roots, the way they've been disturbed, it's.
Yes, and then like they changed the tree of significance, 12 inches or greater, any tree which may be noteworthy because of its species, age, uniqueness, rarity, or status as a landmark due to historical or other cultural associations, which
How do you?
I don't know how you
That's still
exactly,
what's up to be about 10 acre site. Yeah.
10 acre site.
We're still, we're 10 acres, yeah.
but it's 12, but yeah, 12 inches or greater, yeah, that's pretty objective standard, as we know what it's like, versus,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, like, what's a noteworthy species and what.
The sure lots of trees. I don't know. Okay, how do you make updates like in the future, in general, from my knowledge, like we go through this and you want to do an update later, is it a reconciliation? Kind of thing, or is it more?
No,
of
it's
another?
another saldo amendment.
Okay,
It can be done by, you know, planning commission starting it, it can,
Okay.
land use committee come through. But it does need comments from planning commission, comments from Allegheny County, public hearing.
to update to,
Yes, to further amend, so.
Just like this
Amend
one.
this section.
What we're doing right now, you're gonna get comments.
Yes. So what we would do is if we are okay with starting the process at the May meeting, it would be introduced and a public hearing would be scheduled for July regular meeting to give the 45 days that we have to send it. The next day on the 16th, it would go to the county and say, you've got 45 days to give us comments. It would go to the planning commission and say, I guess they could put it on the agenda for the 21st. They could also consider their June meeting. And we do a notice of public hearing, we do those ads and a notice of intent to enact that if there are no comments or no changes, you can pass it at the same meeting, have a public hearing in July.
yeah, I mean, it's a good start. So
Yeah.
if you
So
have
we're
improvements.
making that one change.
I feel like we should look at our environmental advisory committee suggestions. That's why we have a committee, right? So have we gone through all of her comments or their comments?
No, I mean, they were in
Did
the,
you email that to us?
yeah, it was
Okay, I
like
think that was my
Friday.
personal email.
um,
Okay.
I think.
I mean, can we take 10 minutes now and
Yeah.
just read them? If we, I mean, maybe you guys already did.
I did.
But I just did because it went to my other email.
Just lots of job
I did that.
leash laws and no trees.
Yeah, I read through, I mean, it's
Oh, okay.
very,
Well, that's neat. I'm correct. Yes, I'm the only one.
no,
who
no,
did
go
it.
for it, it's fine.
I think yeah, I mean, as I just starting at the beginning, she had some questions why we changed it to wooded areas, like what we've talked about, we can respond, but she's added, you know, reduced flooding as one for one of the purposes of the section, which is fine,
Pretty good,
wouldn't be
yeah.
a problem. She changed maintain to preserved.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair change.
Right. So she added some requirements for
Oops, on top of it. Oh,
she added some, you know, additional, you know, explanation for the protection that's supposed to be in place during construction, fenced areas, you know, no storage within them, tree protection zone. She did add the definition of trees of significance and expanded, which we talked about. That might be a little too much.
Yeah, I'm not really for that. No.
Yeah, but we do define it. So perhaps. Yeah, we do define that code on the slopes. Which one? Please. Okay. Yeah, she just compared it with the Saldo and logging sections and fair, which I think Tim can say how those work, because those have different percentages in both in terms of the slope and the amount that you're allowed to reserve. So that might take a little more mapping and crunching and maybe a review by Tim and Sean. Cross-reference the buffer, 50 feet of a blue line strain, which say there's a zoning provision for 75 in certain areas. Steep slopes. The one that I talked to her about, she had mentioned, and we were trying to find on this table of different plantings. And she had mentioned that Pine is looking at this table and they're making potential changes to it. We were trying to look and find some other examples and didn't really find that many other, just kind of going through it, but our note here is that Pine is considering these deciduous shrubs requirements that nobody wants the shrubs as replacement for trees. So it could be either deleted and then maybe well, either just outright deleted or more trees being required under option 3 and option 4.
So Pine's considering, they want deciduous.
They don't.
They don't,
They
yeah.
don't want shrubs as
Yeah.
part of the tree replacement.
Yeah, so you forces the person to put a evergreen or actual tree. Which actually makes common sense.
Yeah. So I mean, that one could be worthwhile of just meeting now and revisiting in the future if there's different levels of these options. But it sounds like deciduous shrubs is not popular
Yeah,
in our model. Apple pine,
so we knocked that out.
So I agree.
Let's get rid of it.
and then it got
Yes.
I think from the no area of any existing woodland shall be removed prior to the granting of final approval of the proposed subdivision or land development.
That would stop, that would stop,
That, not real, I mean, this is all before, the final approval. Hey, we don't use woodland
No,
here,
that's
so
not
change
right.
that, but I think this is sort of an anti-logging provision. Like if somebody wanted to go in and do logging, we have a logging ordinance. I don't know why.
So it'd be covered under that.
Yeah. Because they can't just go in without a proposed subdivision land
I could
development.
probably do that, I'm
through
ready
it
off, but it's a
If
weird.
they follow logging.
And this is kind of the, gets to the spirit of the ordinance, right? So I don't remember
Yeah.
actually say that.
Yeah, what Laura's saying, we don't need to say that out. We're
Right.
doing what we can do.
Yes.
With it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then I don't, this all trees shall be protected from wildlife by tree guard tube or other fencing. Staked as appropriate placement, or, so this is all in replacement, appropriate, it's every tree out there, but I believe this is only limited to the
The replacement,
new trees.
yeah, the new trees that are being put there so they don't get eaten or stomped on or stolen.
Mostly eaten by deer.
But that wouldn't apply if they're having to replace the big tree, right? You don't really need a tree too.
Yeah.
Now, see, that's all in the trees of significance sections. I think maybe I want to question of where should that go?
Off of Mingo, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so this, I wouldn't put it there because that's in the, only in the tree of significance.
Yes. It's not-
Subsection.
not place, right?
Well, do you think we have covered this with the section that talks about if it didn't survive for 2 years? They
They
have,
have to go.
they have to replace it.
This is gonna be different because this is the precaution, so maybe it doesn't
Yeah,
have to be
but
replaced.
maybe it might not, it might survive, but it
Yeah.
might not thrive. Maybe that's rough.
True.
Things like that. And we do have, I mean, that 2-year growth commitment on trees is in our development agreement right now. 1.0 is 5, but that turned out to be 2.
I think the place where we talk about the replacement, where they're necessary, we should have the precaution about the tubes and the,
Yeah.
yeah, I would just move it.
And about it, we'll
Good.
get rid of C. So I'll make proper changes and just remember this thing. What I drew there and turn it around and it'll be in the packet. We'll put it on for introduction at the main meeting for public hearing, July distribution.
Thank you, Max, for going through those.
Sure.
Excellent.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
And, let's just summarize at the meeting. right?
Yes.
Fully right.
Real quick, Dennis just asked me a question. I'm sure on this.
Yeah,
He was asking about the festival stuff, or how I'll elect the folks that have tables. We're gonna typically tell them if they're running for reelection, they cannot have.
it should be
Just-
constituents.
It's just constituent.
Yeah, it should be a vote for me,
Right.
sign like, or
I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
yeah, if they happen to be walking around and somebody asks them, then they have a private conversation. That's fair game, but like, they should not be having a booth to like.
No,
say-
can.
Yeah, it should be, it should just be like, I'm your official, how can I help you?
No volunteer with a stack of coloring books. We can't do that. We won't do that again.
You step outside. Yeah.
Okay.
Limits.
Nope, that's on this ordinance, since
Yeah.
since there's probably only 100 home rec or 100 people that own more than 10 acres of land. Roughly Franklin Park should they be individually contacted, since we're directly affecting, potentially directly affecting the properties.
I mean, there's no requirement to do so, for, direct personal notice. If we're making a zoning map change, there is a requirement that they get individualized personal notice. We know who it is or gonna identify.
I mean,
It's
it
an
doesn't,
option.
doesn't affect me personally at all, but I'm thinking that you got the first ward is pretty much,
Yeah, right.
we own a lot of the parkland down there, and
Yeah.
quite a few other of the larger parcels, but probably not that many people that own 10 acres or greater.
Right.
I'm guessing, but I don't know if we even know that without.
I don't know.
For every parcel.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of pretty big parcels. Even those long skinny ones.
Those are the parcels, right? That's,
Yeah, it's a good.
What's the number? It's 89 acres, so just for scale,
Yeah,
a lot of parcels.
not sleeping the first word.
Well, we know in the draft one now, we have the log cabin house.
Right?
That was just over 10 acres.
Yeah.
but this going to like the quarterly update, the quarterly newsletter, like, isn't there a section with like updates or
Or you mean that.
like that? Yeah.
Well,
Either
we're
one.
in all the-
Oh, the digital, yeah, the next one, isn't there like a page that has like.
Things that are coming up.
This could be on there. Oh, okay.
I'm just thinking that we are affecting the select in a couple of.
Yeah,
I don't know how many.
That's not a bad idea.
If council wants to do that, we can try.
We can
Release
release
with an idea and see. Talking about.
make them aware.
I mean, it's almost like changing the zoning to some
Yeah.
degree, because you're changing the way that person could, if they ever want to develop that, land, you're affecting what they could do.
That's fine. I mean, there's no harm in,
Yeah, might as well hear from now rather than later.
no, if we want, we can attempt to notify. I don't know how you track that, information, but
Using the county website and ask, we can,
GIS.
sort the whole thing.
if we can easily run a report, that's fine. Just advise them. There must be some standard language we can just initiate saying. Here's a such as a owner of such.
I think it's probably just 1, 1, 1, 2.
Hey, so I'm putting my another hat on. If I own one of those.
Yeah.
Or somebody might find out that the borough changed the rules of what I use to develop my property. I wasn't notified.
What we'll do is actually send that out.
Yeah.
Once Max has it together, now there's a period of time for public comment, and there's gonna be a public hearing, so
Yeah.
we'll actually email, or we'll mail each of them a copy of the.
I mean, it's gonna, how much you wanna go into like explaining that this is a portion of the saldo. We already have a bunch of other environmental restrictions and design requirements. This is compatible one specifically for trees and wooded areas. It's not, affecting them tomorrow if they're, going out and want to change something, but if they ever did want to do a land development or subdivision, it would be under these and a whole host of other requirements that are already in place. Don't make it too complicated to try to explain.
Or you get a letter of grace.
You know, it's a little different than zoning change. I mean,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
still,
So, the same reason you have comments and public hearing, it doesn't factor in.
I mean, if everybody in the borough was paying attention to every packet and everything we were doing, I wouldn't be concerned, but we don't typically get large participation. When people find out, I don't want anybody to say we get it behind the backs, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah, we can get that report and notify the public hearing. And
Yeah.
period, so that'd be good. Okay. We good on this? All right, so we got those two. So the next one for, Bridgeport, stop sign request. So this is the item I brought up. Okay, so I brought the next two items. I can try to like club them together, but the first one, in Bridgeport, there is a crosswalk.
Right.
It is, I actually took a picture in Google Maps, but basically what is occurring is a number of residents have come up to me and probably in various avenues, and they kind of explained the situation. And, I think initially when we try to get a stop sign or anything, I think the way it was crafted or speed was an issue, but from their perspective, it's actually more of a safety issue. So what is occurring is there is actually a need, I don't know what you call it, like a wall. There's an island in between the lanes, going each way. It's not at the entrance. I took a picture. It is actually. I can tell you real quick. Sorry, wrong picture.
This is like back behind the line.
Georgetown, yep. So it's that neighborhood. It says Georgetown Drive and Providence Court cuts through. Yeah, so it's actually in the smack middle of the neighborhood. Now I think when it was briefly brought up last fall, part of the discussion points where it was, if I remember, it is a thorough through road. That is what the neighbors signed at. It does have 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. So the most common complaint or feedback from neighbors or not neighbors but residents is there are a lot of small children in the neighborhood that are crossing. There is a common area to the east of Georgetown Drive, and there are a number of homes on the western side of Georgetown Drive. Actually, the majority of the residents live on the south. So the ask is to have a four-way cross-sectional stop sign as a typical neighborhood would. Yeah, so that's really what that is. So I did actually look at something online, so PennDOT has some sort of like document for municipalities. So I was trying to see what warrants a stop sign. From their perspective, it's a safety issue. To also add to the item, Georgetown Drive has a median in between. So the median has some sort of a wall. So part of the issue is not just kids and children running across or whatnot, but it's also a site issue. So several people have cited concerns for their issues of level hit, et cetera. And it's a line of sight. If you're not in a tall vehicle like an SUV, like you're in a sedan, you are a little bit lower. So there is a wall. If another vehicle's coming, if they are speeding, and it doesn't have to be significant, there's a possibility of a so the four-way stop would kind of solve that or mitigate those two items. So that's what that item is. After talking to PennDOT about this, they actually have like a website that was in the document. An actual person answered, believe it or not, this person used to work at the police department. They were a part-time officer a number of years ago. So we actually had a long conversation about the Franklin Park stuff. So he was also a fire department volunteer. this is like unrelated to the topic, but this is the person that answered at PennDOT. Okay, so what he basically said is, there are other qualitative items you can use for requesting this. It doesn't just have to be speed primarily. There are things such as site distance, obstruction, which is what this is. So this is more of something to think about. We don't have to embark on it like right away, but, I just want to throw it out there.
Who writes it up? Who goes?
This is very vague in terms of who writes it up,
Yeah.
but typically an engineer can write it up, the borough can write it up with the top points. of
And
where
you
it's
get those
required.
points.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the Borough Road, so it's not a PennDOT, thing. This is just the PennDOT guidance for.
Exactly.
What
I
to do
mean,
on
I
it.
did ask, because the paragraph was very vague. I mean, I can send you guys a link, do all the link later on, but, it did say, it was very vague in terms of state road versus, local roads or whatnot. I mean, he did say on the phone, the individual, that even if you were doing something in a borough road, you still have to have PennDOT, guidance or approval.
Well, so when we've done this before, because we've passed out and installed other, stop signs.
Yeah.
And the vehicle code says local, authorities, can control, traffic stop signs, signals and signs if you follow these requirements in the state, regs. And it sets up, it says you need a traffic and engineering study, but that doesn't need to be a traffic engineer. It could be the police officer, it could be a public safety committee, it can be something. You can't use stop signs to control speed, an issue we had before.
Yeah.
And that if you meet the warrants and there's a study that says, yes, this makes sense, you pass an ordinance, you put it in place, you put the signage up, and it becomes an enforceable stop sign.
Yeah, basically examples is what he was saying.
Yeah.
This is a recommendation.
Yeah.
So if other municipalities have done it, like in municipal control roads or boroughs done it, that's what's used. It doesn't have to be primarily speed things. So in this case, and after talking to folks, yes, speed is an issue. They always, want to kind of like slow that down or, have that stop, but it's turned into a safety issue in terms of like sight and, maneuverability. And the real issue is when you're trying to turn at Providence, if you're making a turn out there on a Georgetown or, it's the opposite side, it's the wall that they have there. And I think there's like trees now that are like fully grown.
It was put in for traffic calming.
For traffic calming, yes, which,
From our first hearing.
and then also, just a personal thought, Google Maps and all the mapping software is now, if you are coming from Nicholson Road going north to Sheets, it is directing you to come through the neighborhood. So, it
You
is,
can alert with Google not to screw up, like you can report problems.
it's happening on like Apple's maps as well, and like, it is.
Reporting problems.
So I'm not sure what the,
Right.
yeah, exactly. It's, yeah, so the traffic volume is definitely increased, so, these are all like qualitative items too.
But you're still on warrant, you have to. I mean, I'm just throwing out there, if you're saying it's a safety issue, if there's no record of accidents taking place, and you're really saying it's a safety issue, it'll be a warrant. I don't read that.
Change more stuff, yeah.
I don't think that law, and we need the details.
So it's not as.
I think that wall is.
Yeah, I didn't have some pictures. Check it out.
I think the wall is, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Listen to another one, read the first paragraph.
You're right, they come up here, they start going to I didn't realize there was a little part there.
Yeah, but the one over on that side is much more. And there's some.
So where that red, where the red
Yeah,
flag is,
that's
that's where
the,
the kids are crossing,
yeah,
and that's because they need
But I
to
don't
cross.
think the wall is there. I think the wall doesn't start.
yeah, they are, I mean, they're very adamant that the few folks that we both of us encountered, and I have not been over there, I don't think in a while, so I wanted to personally check it
I'll
out.
take some pictures of you.
Yeah,
Chief, you know
yeah,
what?
what is your thoughts on this? I mean, because it's affects traffic.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's up to council. I don't know if an engineering study is done, if it would warrant it, but, I think we did ironically, I saw your email. We put the JMR, actually, it was the last time we were able to use it on, Georgetown Drive to find out there was a speed issue on Georgetown Drive, and it indicated that there was none or it was very low for enforcement. So, now I am aware that there is a large, population of young children in that area, in those plans. You drive up there when they're catching the bus and there's a lot of kids. So, yeah, I would defer to the council as far as if you deem one necessary or if you need us to do a study. Once I get the JMR, I'll put it back out there. But yeah, it's,
Yeah, I haven't seen excessive speed, just anecdotally.
Yeah, and the person, it might be, the site issue, it just,
yeah,
the construction, I mean, it does make logical sense that there should be a four-way stop there, just thinking of other neighborhoods and just planned subdivisions. So I was a little surprised that there wasn't there when they're already. And given that it's a heavy traffic around.
I think they were relying on a narrow corridor to slow cars down too, right?
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
I don't know if that's happening.
Yes.
They may not be going 50 to 60 miles per hour, but they're probably going 35 easily.
It's way faster for kids in the crosswalk.
Well, even 25 is fast,
It's fast.
like there's little kids running around.
Yeah, and the question is, I don't know. I mean, one person said, I'm gonna start taking videos. I was like, oh, okay, that's good. That'll save us some work.
And you're talking about relative speed, so you've got a kid that's crossing very slowly and the vehicle that's closing very fast.
And it's a very pedestrian neighborhood.
It's very.
It's built for, it's designed for that.
Is it a true crosswalk with white lines warning the cars they have to stop if somebody's in the crosswalk? There are crosswalks.
The picture
Because you're
shows,
supposed to stop, you're not just to be driving at all. Once somebody steps on the right foot, you gotta stop.
yeah, is there, what is it showing?
I mean, I'm just kind of looking around.
Yeah, the wall's not starting until here, so it's a couple houses back, so I don't think it really hits the site. That sounds right, chief.
Yeah.
Those walls don't go all the way to the end, I don't think.
no, they're definitely a distraction, and overall through that
Right.
corridor, they
Especially
definitely
like
cause,
Amazon
and the
truck or
trees,
something.
they definitely cause a site issue. And if you're pulling out from Providence, yes,
Yeah,
that
that's-
site issue is definitely a problem.
That's kind of the complaint that when you're pulling from Providence, not so much Georgetown, you're turning. Because you're kind of like the primary driver. So if you, but if you're in Providence making a right, like a left turn on Georgetown or vice versa, that's really seems like a real problem. Yeah, I actually thought it was like further up in the neighborhood, it was less calm, but this
Sure.
seems to be the
So
primary.
if you're a short little kid in that crosswalk, can the vehicle see you or is the wall?
That's,
away?
it also depends if they're paying attention, right? So there's the volume of kids doing crossing that are that short for little kids versus the volume of traffic that's increased through there. I mean, it just depends. It might be hard for the person to see or stop. So they may not be speeding fully, or they might be a little bit over 25.
So is the design of the entire thing defective because it's not safe?
It's supposed to calm the traffic down, right? But if you are having an increase of pedestrian volume crossing, it could be a problem.
I mean, I get that.
This is sort of a perennial problem, or perennial complaint that we're hearing.
Yeah, this is like we've repeatedly.
I heard last year, the year before.
And we have to meet certain criteria according to PennDOT before we can put a stop sign.
Yeah, and sounds like Max has.
Is there a creative solution like some of those neighborhoods put the little flashing, the one, they get together and they put a flashing thing in that.
Yeah, that would be something to consider with signage that indicates that it's a crosswalk. Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania is very unique in the sense of, we don't actually always adhere to when someone is in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
But you go to other states and someone steps in that crosswalk and people stop immediately.
Yeah.
But they do have the right of way, as Max pointed out. So, but yeah, signage, maybe blinking light. I don't know how the residents would feel about having blinking lights going on at all times. But there are some other creative solutions. And for point of reference, I guess, in 2023, our report had indicated that 8,000 vehicles traveled through there over an 11-day period. Only 10 of those vehicles were in an enforceable range of 35 miles per hour and up. So 10 vehicles out of 8,000 that passed through over 11 days.
So I guess the point is that speed limit, 25 or whatever, is fast if there's an issue with being able to see and
Yeah.
refusing to stop.
3 hours time, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the closing distance is very, very short there.
8,000 seems like a lot over 11 days to me, is it?
Well, and, 2020, when we did a study on Nicholson Road, over 10 days, we had 65, almost 65,000 cars. Now that's people sometimes coming home, leaving, going, so you may have one vehicle pass through 4 or 5 times in a day. But yeah, it's, our borough roads are definitely getting busier. Without a doubt.
So
I would bet it's higher now because as it says,
It routes you through.
the GPS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so it just seems slower, but the map definitely says you must go through here to get the sheets.
if we meet the state requirements to put in a stop sign, is there any reason we wouldn't want to?
I think the skepticism is we won't need it,
I see.
based on past experience dealing with this issue. So that's why I was saying, hey, let's consider some creative solutions to help
That's generally the way it goes.
Okay.
When you talked about, I think this was in February, that it was brought up. And it said that the area of the townhouses was designed for traffic flow and traffic calming. Mr. Buchanan and Lieutenant Snyder did not recommend the installation of the stop sign. He suggested that the HOA look into the solar speeds.
So it's not on that creative submission, but yeah, I think we should still do it. I mean, I think since it's reached, hey, guys, this is the creative solution that doesn't require, going through the process of, the frustrating process of asking for one and not getting.
Yeah, I mean,
I think introducing some steps like that would be, and then if it's still problematic, we can still review stop signs, but I kind of agree with your sentiments.
Yeah.
I think that after that discussion, Gary made that recommendation to the HOA, obviously, didn't take.
I think Gary, if I remember correctly, nothing that's prices. I think.
Yeah, I don't think they're that expensive, but I think I saw something about, did Amazon's like $800? I mean, it wasn't a lot. Yeah.
Is there a reason we don't want to try to help solve this problem? I'm not saying you all are not trying to help solve the problem. That sounded like a loaded
Yeah,
question.
yeah, I can definitely
But
say,
I'm not understanding the,
I will definitely say, my recommendation is pursuing the stop sign. Logically, the design, the 4-way, and the volume of minors and not just minors, there's elderly people. There are multi-generational people living in these homes, just like my neighborhood, and they are walking slowly.
Did you,
They're crossing.
did you conclude from talking to your PennDOT guy that the chief of police could go down there and write down the stuff that we're observing?
Yeah, I mean, it
And then
basically
we can do
said,
the ordinance.
yeah, it has to be, use as many factors as possible,
Yeah.
is what he was saying. So it can't just be, we think we have a problem, and then you set up the stop sign here, and, well, his example was speed. You have certain speed, then you drop it, then you bring it up again, and you drop it for the purpose of just issuing tickets. Like, he was like, there's gotta be some sound logic to this, so if it's the volume of people and, the population change, coupled with other factors such as literally directing more people through because of the map issue.
Well, I mean, I
That's
think you put that in the thing too, but then who's gonna eventually review this? Is it
Yeah.
us?
Yeah, and we've done, I mean, the police have done them before when it's like no parking restrictions and we have the school bus issues and it's more of a, maneuverability if you can move through. Something like a stop sign with those other factors that you're thinking, a traffic engineer, somebody would need to put that together, knowing that volume that's there and the complexity of not just one stop sign, is there two, and everything else that goes into it. There were, yes, designs when it first was approved. I thought at one point they were gonna do like bricked
Well, I
sidewalks.
saw that picture.
Yeah, I was just looking on Google Maps, it looks like just
It looks like
painted.
it's painted.
Yeah,
But
But
yeah,
that was one of
it's
those.
fading too, so. I don't know what they've done up there lately. I thought they did brick. That's what it did a while ago, but looking at this shows. Spray
Paving. So yeah, I mean, if somebody could look at that, and maybe it's a question for Sean to see if to farm that out to Trans Associates or group or somebody like that. But yeah, once that report comes back, I mean, yes, you review it, or so, but if you've got one that says they're not warranted, and you put one in, then there's problems because something happens and they say, well, why'd you do it? Go against it. The other way, kind of supposed to be relying on the professionalism of the traffic and engineering study that's telling you you should do this, or you shouldn't do this, and it's that, I mean, the question of history of accidents and everything else, the argument you always get is, well, why do we have to wait until the kid gets run over here before we'll do something? Which is the best situation to be in, but
What,
those types of.
what about, traffic signs that say slow, pictures of kids, all the usual stuff? That you see in these areas?
I mean, it's just. I mean, definitely you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, yeah, the feedback was, I mean, it is, do you wait, are you waiting for the first kid to get
It's always
killed,
the argument.
right? Yeah, I mean, if you do the stop sign, that's the optimal approach here. And then we can kind of explore others, but I'm sure we'll be hearing more, is what we were more for.
You want to cut it down to see and you're trying to see.
Yeah.
We should ask them like, what are the factors they use in the traffic study? Is it just speed? Is that the
Yeah,
only-
because that's
is that
going,
the current factor? Because if that's the only factor, obviously.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, we want to make sure like we consider all factors.
but it's a shame that when that thing was designed and it was approved by whatever, somebody
They-
didn't realize immediately that's not gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, they may not have realized at the time,
Yeah.
technically it should calm the traffic, but if you have an increase of volume. And the only reason I know that maps directs you through that neighborhood is if, for a Tesla V supercharge, but you are going to a supercharger and it is directing everyone through this road.
Mhm.
I thought maybe I had a glitch, but everyone else told me that's what this is.
What about,
Yeah.
there's two of these crosswalk squares that are in there. What about very clear signs saying yield pedestrians in crosswalk as you're approaching from any of the four signs? I mean, might make that. I mean, I can see from the Google Maps they're painted on
Yeah.
but sometimes the yellow,
Up here instead of
the
down.
yellow line, you know, with an arrow pointing to the crosswalk. Gets your attention maybe. If you didn't want to go, if you couldn't go to the stop sign, right?
I mean, yeah, that's I mean, that is a backup.
I know when the issue on Lenora, when our kids were walking to school to the middle school, council, Jane Hoppy was on council. Then. Our public works people went and they painted a bunch of lines and they put some signs up and everything and really did the trick. It really did the trick for the class. All of a sudden it was like a huge deal where before it was very subtle.
Yeah, maybe even those big arrows. that
It was
keep
a
going.
big, all of a sudden it was a huge deal, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are good backups, but
Mhm.
the stop sign generally is cheaper if it could be done. But if it can't be done, then yeah, those are good backups. Dr. Lee, what do you think? Yeah.
Okay, you asking me,
Yeah, since you.
yeah, I think we can still pursue the stop sign and ask if negative and if we can set up the stop sign by the speeding, I think is only one factor. There should be some other factors involved, like for example, like the traffic and also like the minus or elder people cross that day. How could we record that one? So we need to have something there and to just,
Yeah, and we might be getting more of these in the borough as it gets denser.
So Chief, can we do something like to monitor this situation, like for example, like
As Max pointed out, most likely an engineer study would do the best. And what they do is they take into consideration speed, accidents, volume, and density. So the density that is right on, directly on that particular road. So they'll take into consideration that there's now housing, and that. So they're the ones that would be the professionals to be able to study that and determine it. I mean, I'll help them in any way. We'll provide any kind of accident information. Off the top of my head, I can't think of an accident we've had there. But you know, whatever information they would need for that study.
Then in that case, let's ask the engineer to do some traffic study, but probably not focus on the speeding, focus on some other factors that may, help us, deal with this situation.
You want to inform us.
Yeah, it's just, is that what it's called, four-way?
Yeah, I think just examine what is warranted at this intersection or these two intersections.
It's a four-way. Stop. I mean, we did if they have examples. Yeah, pro and. In case we have this issue cropping up elsewhere. Okay, cool. Sorry, anything else on this or? Okay, so pivoting to the next topic, the Nicholson Road speed control. So, yeah, this came up, as well, quite a few, opinions on this. I know in the past we've asked for the speed to be reduced. So one resident actually was begging us to put in JMAR, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, even though we don't buy, even though we don't have one at the moment.
Yeah.
They're willing to host it on their property
Okay.
to catch the speed. Do we object to doing that kind of stuff? Or-
No, not at all.
Yeah.
That road has probably been, for the 25 years I've been here, it's been asked for the speed limit to be reduced. We've put the JMO there before. I think, last time was, I found like a bunch of history with it, in 2020, I believe. And that was the 65,000 cars that had passed through there. And it gave us an indication of 1.1% enforceable for us. Again, with VASCAR as opposed to radar, that becoming our issue. But once I get the new JMR, I absolutely would put it out there and get a study done.
Yeah, this seems like they found like the perfect spot. So they are across Deerfield. They are a house that's been there like 50 years. I think they said they were there 45 years.
Is that tan or yellowish brick?
No, it's, they have like some sort of a house, so like the driveway is a little steep to get in, and they have some sort of like I think on the other side of the road, there's like a mirror. Or something.
Yes, I know it's.
So, I think the person actually worked at Penn, he might have worked or retired at PennDOT.
Okay.
But they have it's a little bit hidden or whatnot. The school bus does stop, not in front of their house, but the house next to it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I think Deerfield, I'm not sure if the bus is actually going either or not, but it's at certain times, it's very traffic heavy. Obviously, right now, it's flooding out. But yeah, they're like, I will be happy to host that.
Yeah. If you can email me, their, contact information,
Yeah, okay.
and then I'll even, ahead of the JMR, we'll try to get some lines painted on Nicholson and try to do some enforcement to see if we.
Yeah, they were asking for enforcement.
As long as they're okay with us sitting in their driveway, I can make that
I
happen.
can ask them. Yeah, I think anything to reduce or comment, they're happy to
Yeah.
participate.
I can forward to council the most recent PennDOT letter is February 3rd, 2022. But it basically said, we are again telling you, speed limit is fine.
I'll
For
tell you.
the 8th time, we're telling you the speed
I
limit.
got a call from Caroline's office and talked to them. They said, you have to stop.
Yeah.
You're tired of us requesting. the next
But we have a new state reference.
But we can enforce, yeah, I mean, they're downhill, so that's probably causing the ability for the person to really speed. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the school bus stop that is
Yeah.
right at LaPlace Point there. And when there are a lot of kids getting on the bus and off the bus there, so when that's happening during school time, you see the traffic backing up. And people as they press that hill, you know, going from 45 to that stop, so, but,
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
get you the info.
yeah, all right, sounds good.
Okay, cool, all right, next, item, rental properties.
That was an email that was sent
Yeah.
out. to-
Yeah, that was sent, to three of us, it was sent to
Yeah.
me and, UDA, and Dr. Lee.
Yeah, do you want to explain? it?
Yeah, I can actually, so if it's still here. I have that one, if you wanted me to forward. Go ahead. Yeah, no, I'll do it, just not.
Well, he's looking at that, we looked at this as a land use committee.
Yeah.
The whole issue, and Tim specifically said we're good.
Tim
We
and
we caught everyone.
Tim and Andy read the trials.
Yeah.
Right, and we can't, council can't decide who wants to buy a house in the area.
No.
Yeah, and we did look at this one time about changing it because there was a string of Commonwealth court cases that said, no, that's single family.
Yeah.
And those were like in the Adirondacks and like they were party houses, vacation homes and things like that. Then in the slice of life case, Supreme Court said, no, it's not consistent with single family dwellings because it's transient and everything else. So, you know, you don't need to change your ordinance. There has been a question of, well, do you have to allow Airbnbs somewhere in the zoning district under the theory that you can't exclude them? And we have a use not provided for, have to come in as a conditional use, you know, standard requirements. And you have other types of short-term, you know, living arrangements, hotels, we've already allowed, things like that. So it hasn't really been an issue. And yeah, we did do one enforcement action years ago. I don't remember when that was. Person was just advertising it as a room for rent on a short-term basis, you know, with close proximity to the city of Pittsburgh. It's not a single family residence, it's a boarding house or it's a short-term rental. That was it.
So that's,
Yeah,
sorry.
well, the email that, was sent was on April 29th. Salish, Capadia, he's on one of our boards, I believe.
Zoning hearing board.
Yeah, zoning hearing board, yeah. Anyway, he, says it seems that many corporations are buying single-family homes and using them as rental properties with possible negative effect on the quality of life in those neighborhoods. The other possible use for such investments is to use them as vacation rental by owner or worse as Airbnbs. So he summarizes by saying, I do not know if the borough has provisions already to guard against such practices, but it may be worth something to evaluate, and then he attached an article from the Wall Street Journal. But, so anyway, because he sent this to us, I just want to get it out on the table and for some discussion, and perhaps we should, come back to Leash with.
I would just refer him to Tim and say, you know, talk to Tim at the next zoning hearing board meeting. He can give it our rundown and what we do and doesn't feel we need to change anything. And the other one is, as Regis mentioning, if a corporation buys a house.
He served on the zoning hearing board.
Yes, yeah, so they'll have an opportunity to,
Right.
you know, just talk quickly.
But he sent it to us and I wanted to get it on the table and for discussion.
We do require, like people that rent the homes to report that to the borough.
Yeah.
Every year. they have to
Register registrations.
Like, I know all three of the homes from my one side of me, the one that caught on fire and the next two were all rentals.
Do we have protection against Airbnb?
Yes,
We do.
thanks to the Supreme Court decision, slice of life case.
What is the protection?
That it's a, you know, or single family, you know, zoning districts, if it's a single family residence, it can't be used for transient short-term rentals, either while the person is there and living there and has the guest coming in and out, that one case, or they're gone and it's, you know, a party house.
Isn't that pretty, hard to even, I mean, somebody could be doing it, but don't know.
No, because they advertise them on web pages.
Can't
like
make money unless you
Airbnb.
advertise.
So
So that's why we need a detective.
That's not Tim Cotton.
Thanks for trying to-
I think you have Tim's detective, so you're gonna.
Yeah.
Well played. Well
So my
played.
house cannot be Airbnb for like that night. Is that, okay, all
I
right.
mean, if you do it once, like, you know, what are we gonna do?
In general, in general, no. Okay, so, And I wanted to ask the, so Tom, the rental application, something brought up, like, get the report. The tenants, landlords report their tenants, right, in the 30 days. Is there any enforcement with that or anything as if they don't do it? Like,
I believe there is in there, we haven't had to chase after it, but I think they are given. I mean, it's for tax purposes and, you know, those other types of purposes.
It's a lot of word of mouth. We'll find out about property being rented, or people will call and say, I'm a new resident, I'm renting a house.
okay,
So those notices get sent out once a year. And asking that the supply the rental information.
and the reason I'm asking is like inspection of properties, like fire code, for example, like, does everybody goes and inspects? That they have?
Well, I mean,
We have the fire inspections through our department or the software. Those that are required to get fire inspections or however we have to have it set. We'll have to go on the website and register. Certificates and they give you like business license or a resident license.
Do you do that for all the rentals?
We don't do it for the rentals right now, but we're prepared to start doing it.
Well, yeah.
but you do it for like Taylor Ridge rentals, like the apartment buildings?
Well, we do like, sprinklers. Yeah, we do the fire inspection, the apartments there. Yeah, Taylor Ridge.
Yeah.
So we do inspect that because it is a commercial structure for residents.
Yes.
But going into private residential homes that are being inspected, we aren't at this point, because the fire code doesn't provide for that. You know, we can't require annual fire inspection of the rented property.
Right.
We just have to start.
And that's often, maybe that's what Lisa's looking at. There, you know, this sort of belief that if a corporation or a company or a landlord buys a single family residence and rents it out, it is now a commercial use rather than a residential use, but it's not. The people living there are still residents, you know, same type of rules. You can't go in and just start tossing mattresses and, you know, checking them. They can be made to register for tax purposes. So, you know, you're doing EIT collection.
And certain municipalities do, occupancy. Every time somebody moves in or out, you have to have one.
And you have to have an inspection to get the.
Rentals.
Yeah.
Owners.
Yeah, you can get into that, and sometimes those are on, you know, the big houses that have been carved out to 4 apartments, things that. No.
So, yeah, and the reason I'm bringing it up is, you mentioned the rental application and there the article. So, I mean, actually, the piece here is Rockville, Maryland. So in Rockville, Maryland, you have to, I didn't know I knew this until the second time I did it. So, but apparently you have to have if you are a landlord renting out your townhouse or whatever, resident purposes, you have to have a rental, an inspection done every 2 years. It's a small fee, and basically covers like fire, like they check the smoke detector in every room, like basic stuff. Part of it is if, you know, the house burns down and there's one side that get killed, or if there's some fatality or something, it's to prevent those kind of things. So yeah, if the software is enabled to residential like, fire testing, fire inspection, I don't know, that might be something to look at down the road. From a safety perspective.
Do we have any corporations buying single family homes? Are we seeing anything like that?
I mean, I don't,
Could be, I think,
but
you know, there are companies who buy homes for executives.
yes.
I mean, and
Relocation
they're
companies.
perfectly fine people who are good neighbors. But yeah, I mean, it can happen.
And all those signs, you say, yeah, we pay cash for houses. That's
Sure.
Some corporations buying it, and either holding it for some reason or maybe flipping it or otherwise. But
Yeah, if you look at the transactions in the North Illustrated, a lot of times it'll be a corporation or a holding company.
An LLC.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's anything nefarious.
they can't get the homestead exemption, then it's not.
Yeah, a person, a couple could do that too. They could set up and buy a trust or a LLC.
A lot of people are going.
A lot of
The next reason you do on an LLC, if you're gonna buy something and flip it, you know.
Yeah, so it's pretty common. Okay, all right. Manager report items. Reach.
I just wanted to bring up, one item, received, an email last, Thursday from, Deluzio's office that there were some federal grants available, but we had to respond by noon yesterday. Then on Friday, I got an email, I wasn't here, from, Representative Venkat's office, saying that, hey, these federal grants are available and here's your chance basically for the, sound study along the highways. So I reached out to UNA on Monday and we talked, and I went ahead and submitted, they're not even grant applications at this point, they're just questionnaires, showing an interest for $1 million for a sound study. And I put one in for $1 million for the Public Works Garage Addition. I'm sorry, on stormwater.
Yeah, stormwater, yeah.
But, you know, just so you know, these forms asked for letters of support, which I didn't have any. They asked for budgets, which I didn't have any. So I don't know if we're going to get the grants, but Representative Venkat's office had reached out and asked if we wanted to go ahead and include a request from the state for $1 million for a sound study and $1 million for stormwater. I already asked Venkat's office for $500,000 for Blueberry Park playground upgrades, and I asked for $1 million for the Public Works addition. I could go ahead and tell them, yeah, but my concern is that we're not going to get all four funded. So if they fund the sound study for $1 million and none of the other ones, we're locked into having this sound study done. So do we want to do that?
Is there a matching fund on that, Reach?
There might be. Yeah, I mean, if we ask for $1 million and they say, here's 500,000 and it costs $1 million, we
Right.
got to come up with the other 500,000.
Right.
And that's why I'm asking the question, do we want to request from the state
Right.
money for a sound study for that?
When you get those grants, are you locked in? I mean, is it that?
Well, you can say, I don't need it anymore, but the next time you apply for a grant, the people who review those are going to say, oh, Frampton Park didn't need the money last time. Why would we give it to them this time?
Could we clarify if it's, no obligation or, no matching required?
At the federal level,
Not the federal, not for Louisiana, but for Venkat's office.
I can ask.
Yeah, if there's no, matching required for the municipality, then it's fine, but if there is matching, then I would say, because it's already.
But if we go ahead with the sound study, that means we're also committing to the results of the study, which will say, okay, here's how you build up the wall, and where you build it. And now that's likely a $1 million project.
Yes.
Which is okay, because we, as a municipality, would say, we don't have the money to do it. Plans, or it could be a basis for federal funding, you know. Okay, but we can see what they say.
Is that the same as reneging on the grant? Where do they go? Well, they asked for this thing and they got it, and then they didn't do anything with it. Is that what you're concerned about?
Well,
Hypothetically, you get your $1 million and
I'm concerned if we do this at the state, that or to say, okay, we'll fund one of these 4 requests.
Yeah.
Fund the sound study.
Yeah.
Therefore, we don't get money for the Public Works initiative. We don't get money for the upgrades to Blueberry Hill Park Playground. But we've got this sound study we have to do now. Because we can't, because if we then go back and say, you know, we don't want to do the sound study, they're not going to say, okay, we'll give you the money for something else now. It's not the way it works.
We've already requested sound study money from the federal, so we've already, yeah,
So don't go after
That's-
from the state.
what do you guys think?
No, you're right. We should, whatever the priority, we should have a priority.
Yeah, and we've got, I mean, Blueberry Park Playground upgrades and or something, we also asked for $500,000 from UCNR.
Yeah.
We already have a $500,000 grant for the Public Works Garage that's going to cost about $2 million. So I thought I'd ask for things that we already know we're going to be spending money on.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to lose those because.
Applying the Scott $10 million wall is not the same as the concrete stuff that you've already kind of.
But
figured out.
it's council's call. I mean,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think we should go with Regis' recommendation here. I think he's thought it through. It's not.
but it also may not make Representative Venkat's office happy because they really want us to do this something.
Up and down.
I'm gonna hear about it this Saturday at the paper show. I think our in Southwest, and to please do this.
Does he understand our reservations? Does he understand our reservations?
So we do the sound study, they
Yes.
recommend a $25 million wall.
It's an overall, I mean, again, they're asking us to build a wall on PennDOT property, and which PennDOT won't let us do, and then who maintains it, and it's just, it's something PennDOT should be doing. But, you know, Federal Highway Administration does not require states to put up sound barriers. I did check that.
Do you know what's happening on the turnpike? So it's either Somerset or east of that. They're doing some widening and they're putting up sound walls, you know.
Yeah. Whenever they're doing widening or road to allow for more traffic, they're claiming that impacts sound,
Okay,
therefore they'll put a wall.
But that's turnpike.
that's turnpike.
Not PennDOT. You might have their own different rules or something like that, but they have a federal highway overlay. Well,
Yeah, it's their choice if they would. Federal government doesn't require it.
Can we still reach out to Vanka and the office to ask for some clarification? Because what I work for is just the residents and living in that area have been, and informed by Vanka's office and about this kind of sound study. And so if we don't take any action and the residents and will complain. And so, and let's still reach out to the Vanguard office and ask for like, for example, like we have a concern about this funding, and so is this kind of separate from the other state, and funded like, or other funding or something, and why is it fact our other fundings negatively or something like that? So we get some information, because otherwise, I think that the issue is that if we don't do anything, and because we have been, I think, I have been approached by the residents so many times, and they complain that we are not doing anything, we are not taking any action or something. So if we can get some information that we can share with our residents, and then that might be helpful. Because, and this is something like that, because we cannot just like, decide, okay, since that we assume that this will have some negative effect on the impact on other fundings, so we cannot do anything. We don't want it to do anything or something like that. That's I'm not so sure whether that's something that we can tell like our residents because of other fundings that we cannot assume this some study and the funding or something like that.
Yeah, but we're gonna go for the federal grant for it instead of the state, so we'd still be going for it, just not.
I know, but the information that the residents already probably knew about that, and so about the state funding for the sun study. So if we are not going to do anything, or if we don't have a good rationale behind that,
We can tell, so my response is, I'm gonna, if I'm approached, I mean, my messaging path to my work line, and that's where we're primarily. It's going to be, we're pursuing at the federal level, which is what we did. I mean, the problem with this, and I'm happy to explain it to whoever wants to meet with me. The problem with the state grant is, the last time we looked at it was 30% for the borough that you have to match, it's 300K. But the federal one, I mean, it was a Google form, so literally it had no requirement of municipal matching or anything. It's literally that the federal route is much better, I feel, because it is straight funding to the project.
That's, I think it's the other thing to ask for federal.
Yeah, yeah, we are, it was exactly.
We're delivering it, right? This is it.
Just, I put in $1 million for the sound study, $1 million for the stormwater.
Oh,
Which would cover this, which would cover the sound study. And then there's no obligation, and there's no funding from the borough required. So this puts us in a pretty strong position. Taking it, the state route, we could it would be most likely they would not fund all four. In the past, they haven't, they've had to choose how many to fund.
No, what I'm saying that regarding the state fund for the sun study, and we still need to get a little bit more detail of, you know, for example, the requirement or whether we need to provide the, you know, a match fund or something like it. Then we can, and what I'm saying that we need to have something there and to address the resident concern. We can talk about like 30% or something, and maybe, but if they hear from the and renter and the office about something different, so they are thinking that we are trying to make some story or something like. So I just want to be consistent, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, we
Just
can,
ask.
yeah, we can align with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can
Yeah, just
make sure we're on the same page,
Mm.
yeah, about the grant.
Yeah, about that one.
Yep.
And what I'm saying that we really cannot use the excuse that because if we apply for this sun study fund, and then it may affect our other funding and for the Borough, and this is really not a good excuse and to, and provide to people that are affected by the noise. So we need to have something like that.
Whatever council wants me to do, I will do.
Yeah,
Apply for state grant or look for more information or don't do.
yeah, but, I mean,
Those are three options.
yeah, there's three options. But yeah, my recommendation is we apply for the federal grant. Delizio's office each congressional office currently gets 15 to choose from, so we submitted two. There's no obligation on the borough, so, I thought that was the best decision. I mean, we have limited time, so we had to do something. I do not think having this go to the state level is the best route. And we should talk to Representative McCabe's office. I'm happy to do that, just make sure we're on the same page. And our reasoning is the borough's position is we cannot put up 30% of the capital to do this. That would be $300,000 at a minimum. Yeah, if this even goes through. It doesn't, yeah, we don't have to we don't have to say we chose to do the other three and not this. I mean, we want to get the best chance to get the most money for the borough. And if we have to, choose projects that are guaranteed, that we are going to have to do those projects anyways. I feel like the federal route was the optimal route to go. It puts us in the best position.
And it's pursuing the sound study money that the residents want.
It's pursuing, yes,
Yeah.
it is. That's exactly what we submitted for. There were two
Yeah.
items that we submitted.
Right.
And these are community, public transportation and life, like quality of life and stuff like that. Those are the factors.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
No, I think it's correct that you pursue the federal funding through, Delizio's office, like we are doing. And we don't pursue a state funding for, the sound study, because that could have, drawbacks that we can't even predict right now. If they actually said, oh yeah, we'll give you the money, then there could be matching requirements, there could be a bunch of other, we don't know. But we do know with the federal, it doesn't come with strings.
Yeah, the federal had no requirement for the municipalities.
Yeah.
Because it was open to municipalities, organizations. There is no requirement for the municipality or anyone to put up any things.
Right.
So that was why that was why it was submitted.
It's the most appropriate for our taxpayers too. Residents.
And it makes it easier sell to go through. We did look at the federal fund, that form, not the federal, the state form last summer, and I think the form itself said 30% municipality is a requirement. It was like buried, it was buried in like the second page.
We don't have that budgeted and we don't,
Yeah.
that's not.
No, what I'm saying that today, and we need to reach out to the bankers office and make sure that our information and what we are
Yeah.
that is consistent with what they were telling our residents. The problem is that if we come up with something like that, and if we explain to our residents about something like that, we need to make sure that we have the same information, delivered to them, and so, and for what I'm saying that is because, and I think that, one resident emailed us, regarding this kind of, done, and study that he said something like that. And the borrowers look at the cost and then just like you only worry about the cost of something like that. But if you live in that area and you will be affected by the noise, something like it, we need to come up with the really good, and explanation and why we're doing this, why we're not doing that, or something like that. So
Okay,
I
yeah,
just want to make sure that the information is clear.
yeah,
And we need to just make sure that we can balance this stuff and not like we intentionally choose one over another one. For this.
yeah, next week, yeah, we have our reasoning and justification for it.
Yeah,
But we
just-
can talk to Representative Bacon's office and make sure we're aligned as to the reason why we are not pursuing it through his office. Let's make sure that's the message.
Yeah, make sure that our borough is just like is just doing something and
Yeah.
not like the funding is there and then we are just sitting here doing nothing. So we need to connect more information and then tell the residents that here is the option that we have and we always choose the best one and so to pursue this and to complete this project.
Yeah.
With something like information.
course. Yeah, we can do that.
Do you have any idea on a timeline when we might find out about the federal grant?
I only got to step page 2 of the form.
Yeah,
Pissed off.
Nothing in it said that. It simply said that, Delizio gets to pick 15 projects he wants to recommend for funding. Not say when we would hear.
They tend to be less rigid in their timelines and structures than, not in a good way, usually.
It might be part of the appropriation budget.
But you could recommend
Somewhere.
this for funding and it would still have to be with funding.
Yes.
It's probably part of the,
Yeah,
Overall,
Florida,
right.
yeah.
it actually is. It's, which is fine. It's the better route.
I believe it's a port.
Benefit to the borough. Okay. Reaching its bullet, is there anything else? Okay. All right, first one, Council Mayor, Brian.
Okay, I'm good.
Laura?
We covered the land use stuff.
Yeah, cool. Laura,
In the interest of time, no, I have nothing interesting to say.
so, Mayor.
I'm good.
Actually, I have something.
Go for it.
Yeah, so Saturday is the Giant Box Day. We're gonna be putting them together here at 1 o'clock if anyone wants to come. Everyone's invited. We're also putting them together at school tomorrow. We're looking at probably 250 at school. We had a really big turnout this year, and I'm thinking probably 50 for Saturday. So,
So what, say it again, 1 o'clock?
yes, 1 o'clock on Saturday here.
What happened?
We're gonna put together the boxes with the toys. We have all the donations. We'll kind of set them out and then.
How was the donation?
Good, yes.
Okay.
Anybody can come help put
Yes.
them together.
Beverly.
Regarding the Livingston Road and the speed control. Can we start like for example, like drawing some line on the road, just like,
Oh, yeah,
for example, like.
we talked about that, right? Yeah, we talked about the machine brakes, so the J bar, the J bar. Yes, when it comes in and then draws lines to enforce.
Yeah, we'll paint VASCAR lines on the road and I'll have officers in the area. We also can put out the speed trailer to make people more aware of their speed as they're pressing over that hill. And then when we get a JMR, we can put it up and and get a more accurate picture of time of day and where the issue is.
Oh, okay. So what I'm saying that can we just draw some line on the road and right now, or is there anything like prevent us from doing that, or is because the Livingston Road is a state road, we cannot like do something on the road?
We could do that, right? We don't have to wait for the J.
Yeah, we can put lines on
I
the
can
Livingston Road, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we don't need to wait like that, because actually, I have been also approached by a few residents, complaining about the speed, especially the people living like that, on the kind of like that.
I think it's more of a volume issue than it is a speed issue, in my opinion. I mean, 65,000 cars, and that was 3 years ago. I'm sure it's a lot more than that now. But yeah, we have lines on Branchville Road, we have lines so we can paint some of it on Nicholson. And look into it.
And I think that the resident might be happy to see that we're doing something,
What we really need is radar.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but,
We're the only state in the nation that doesn't have it.
but a lot of residents don't like that.
Well, I know what it is, there's negative there too, but that's what we really need to do a better job
I
of
agree.
speed control, and we need our radar. And Pennsylvania state mayors, I've been with them now, on the executive board, we've been trying for radar for at least 10 years, and we never can get it through the politicians. We just can't get it done. We get close every year, but we just can't get it done, but that's the answer for speed, helping with the speed control in the borough is radar. Because, this fast car is an old outdated system.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it.
I had a couple minor things I talked about before, but we'll pass on that, it's getting late.
Okay,
Nothing real.
sorry. Okay, that's good. All right, so on to executive session. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.